Got it now.
Oh,
This is the regular meeting of the Encinitas City Council. And it is Wednesday, September 29, 2021. We are officially calling this meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. May we please have a roll call?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Hensy.
Here.
Councilmember Lyons.
Here.
Councilmember Mosca.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Kranz.
here.
Mayor Blakespear.
Here.
Record will show that all members of the City Council are present. And before we move to the Pledge of Allegiance, if I could just remind everyone to please make sure your microphones are muted unless you are speaking. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to invite the Deputy Mayor to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, thank you. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to make an announcement, City Clerk?
Yes, just for all of you that have joined us, for all of our attendees and speakers, we do have a large number of speakers for item 10A. So we're just giving you notice that we will be limiting speaking time to 2 minutes each. So this gives you a little bit of time to adjust your comments, and oral communications will remain at 3 minutes. But for item 10A, speakers will be limited to 2 minutes each.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have special presentations. So we have two today. First one is a presentation by John McNair from JC Resorts regarding the Encinitas Ranch Golf Authority, the financial results for fiscal year 2020 to 2021. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. My name is John McNair. I'm the Vice President of Golf for JC Resorts, and I'm honored to be presenting today to you on giving you an update on Encinitas Ranch Golf Course. I'll start by sharing my screen. Thank you. I'd like to start by just doing a quick overview of the Encinitas Ranch Golf Authority, commonly referred to as ERGA. It consists of a 5-member board, the city manager, Parks and Rec director, city engineer, representative of developer, Cindy Jacob, and individual selected by the city manager, Mr. Rich Hauk. In addition, we have 2 non-voting members, one from the Homeowners Association Encinitas Ranch there, Dick Stern, as well as from a Carltus representative, Chris Calkins. Just to let everyone know too, the golf course is a self-supporting operation. It is not dependent on the city's general fund. I'd like to start by reviewing our 2020-21 financial results. We're very proud to say that we did 87,049 rounds last year, which is beating budget by over 5,000 rounds. And as you can see here in the historical chart, we increased rounds by over 35% and over 22,000 rounds. So it's the best number of rounds we've done in the history of the entire golf course since its inception 23 years ago. Now shifting over to the revenue side, we did $6.53 million in revenue, exceeded the amended budget by $358,000. And there again, in the historical chart, as you can see, we beat prior year by over $1.8 million. So the best year there again on record for revenue. From an expense standpoint, we did $4.33 million in expenses, and just we're over budget by $6,000. The pie chart to the right shows where the revenues came from for the golf course, with the majority of it, 71% of it, coming from green fee revenue. Now we'll shift over to net income. The net income for the course was almost $2.2 million. Exceeded the amended budget there again by $351,000. We have golf course bonds on the course. We have a debt coverage ratio that's 1.4, and we greatly exceeded that. The real nice thing is with ERGA this year, we had such a successful year financially, not only on the top line with the revenue, but the bottom line, we were able to contribute over $1 million towards the Encinitas Ranch Community Facilities District, CFD number 1 special assessment. So it was a great year across the board financially for the golf course. Now I'd like to just shift to some updates that have happened since my last presentation to the City Council. We added a putting course, a 12-hole putting course, right between the clubhouse and the grass putting green. It was an area that was kind of vacant, and we added this putting course. And the nice thing is it's free to the public for all guests, and we also have equipment with golf balls and clubs for those that would like to use it at no charge for all local, the community and residents. In addition, our PGA Junior League team from Encinitas Ranch, led by our Director of Instruction, John Mason, in 2018, they won the national championship. Consists of over 37,000 kids that have tried to compete in this and over 1,700 golf courses throughout the country. And the reason I bring that up, even though it was 3 years ago, since we presented on this, the Encinitas Ranch team next week actually is competing for the 3rd national championship in Arizona. So we're very proud of not only what we're doing financially there, but also from our instruction and the number of juniors and youth that we've got in the game at Encinitas Ranch. And John Mason and his team through the Junior League is a testament to that. So with that, it concludes my financial review and just a quick update on some of the main comings and goings that's happening at the golf course. And with that, I'll open up some questions. Looks like Council. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We appreciate this presentation every year, and it's great that you're doing so well. Where does the extra money go? I mean, when you have extra money like that?
So going back on the slide, if going to the CFD is really where it goes. So we have a couple different buckets that we have to pay after we, obviously pay the golf course expenses, the 4.3 million, as I mentioned to that. We also have a capital improvement fund, but the balance of that goes to the community facilities district and basically helps out the HOA in the community on their bond to help pay that off. And as you can see, $1,023,750 went towards that this past year.
So, okay. So if we have an exceeding our budget by 351 million, where is the 351 million going over budget?
Okay, so we exceeded that was an amended budget. The original budget, we exceeded by $1 million, well over $1 million. And that's where the excess money went then into the community facilities district. It helps not only pay that year's community field district fee or bond payment and the golf course's portion of that, but it also has a look back for any years in the past that we might not have met it. And so it goes to the CFD bond for the next, until I believe it's 2028 is when that bond pops off, sunsets, as well as the golf course bonds sunset at that point.
Okay, so is there ever a time where if we had more money than was needed to pay the community facilities district special assessment, does it indefinitely go into that, or is there some point at which we've paid that off and then there's extra money?
Yeah, good question. It looks like if we have the same type of year that we're already starting out and we had last year in the net income, if we're getting close to the $2 million mark again, we would have completely be caught up with the community fields district, not only our payment for that year, but any look back monies. And then at that point, it would go, I believe we could check with Teresa, but it would then go to the city at that point.
Okay, good. That's what I was getting at. I thought at some point it would come to the city and was wondering when that was. Okay, so it's possibly we're actually going to make money on this golf course and money will come back to the general fund next year, possibly.
Possibly. If not, I would feel confident the following year. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
No, it's a very complicated deal, but I don't think any money comes to the general fund until those CFD bonds are paid off. So, but once the CFD bonds are paid off, then there's a significant revenue stream potential for the city into the general fund. And I had my hand up to talk about the look back function, and John mentioned that. So that in the $1.023 million that you contributed, that includes both the ERGA's fair share towards the CFD in this year, plus certain look back amounts that were not paid as your fair share. Is that what that 1.023 represents?
Yes, sir. About 350,000 approximately is towards this year, and the balance, it's called six. I'm rounding here. 650,000 was towards the look back. Correct.
Thank you. And it's great that people are still using the course. I was out there for the wine festival, and although we were beating up that hole, the course looked great. And I look forward to continued enjoyment of the course with the number of rounds that we had during the pandemic. So thanks for all your efforts there.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Lyons.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, John, for the presentation. A couple of things. I just wanted to say thank you for how you dealt with opening the course back up after the pandemic. I was excited to go and play golf. A little challenged in that we had to walk the course. At first we couldn't use carts, but it was a darn good workout, I have to say. I know you're not here to talk about any future or what your future capital improvements are, but I'm just curious if there's some that are on the top of your mind. I know you said you put in the putting green, and that's really a really nice improvement, it looks like. Are there some other capital investments that you're planning?
Yes, because of the excess play or the additional play that we had over a traditional year, as mentioned, over 22,000 rounds versus prior year, our real focus is to make sure we maintain the asset and take care of the course, particularly the greens. As you know, it sounds like you're a golfer, and you gotta have good greens to have a good product and be successful long term. So really focused on that to make sure, and as well as the surrounds. We did a test pilot area around the putting green to change the grass out to make it more playable, more durable. And so that's been very successful thus far. We did it over the last few months. And if that continues with that success, we're going to look to do that throughout the golf course. But it's predominantly things to make sure we can maintain the asset for the long term and keep it healthy, particularly with its additional rounds and revenue.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, John. We're continue to be thrilled that we have a golf course that's making money and not drawing money like many golf courses are on their municipal funds. So thank you for the great management and to the entire board that is working on that. And we'll see you next year, unless there's another update that you need to share in the intro.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. Thanks for the time this evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we have a presentation by our San Elijo Joint Powers Authority General Manager, Michael Thornton, on the planned bike path at the San Elijo Water Campus. It's an exciting project. Do we see Mike Thornton?
He's on the Zoom.
He is? Okay, good.
It looks like he might need to be upgraded to a panelist.
I actually don't see him. Do you see him?
Me now?
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
I saw him. Yeah, I saw him. Yeah.
You think after a year and a half I'd be better at Zoom by now? All right. Well, welcome, Mayor and council members. I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit about the project that we have going on in Cardiff. Let me pull up my presentation. Screen. I'm flying a little blind. Can you see a PowerPoint presentation?
We can see your downloads and a list.
Close. How about now?
Yes.
Awesome. We are making progress. All right. A little about what we call our Water Campus Improvement Project, which includes a bike and pedestrian path and all sorts of other wonderful improvements, which we think are going to make the community better, which is pretty hard because Cardiff is a pretty impressive community. First, though, I'd like to recognize my board of directors and a little about what we do as an agency. We have this year Christy Becker, the Solana Beach Deputy Mayor, as our chair, and we have Council Member Kelly Hinsey as our vice chair. We have Solana Beach David Zito, board member, and Mayor Blakespear as a board member as well. And for those probably in the audience more so, San Alejo is focused on protecting the public health and the water environment through our wastewater, stormwater, and recycled water services. What we don't recycle is sent out through an ocean outfall, which we manage to ensure that any water discharged to the ocean meets all state and federal water quality requirements. Recently, in the last few years, we've really embraced education with the local schools, vocational training with our community colleges, and research with the universities, and have done a lot of remarkable work in those areas. And to paint the broader picture, our services include the city of Encinitas, Solana Beach, Del Mar, and portions of Rancho Santa Fe. And again, when we think about Encinitas and Solana Beach and the beautiful coastline, it's great when we see that the San Diego County gives all of our beaches glowing report cards for water quality. And that's near and dear to what our services are all about. In addition, when we think about taking wastewater, stormwater, and recycling it and producing a local water supply, in this time where California is in another drought, and you can see by this recent California Drought Monitor report, the majority of the state is in a severe drought. San Diego County has been relatively spared this round of drought, but we get the majority of our water from external areas outside of our region. So we do feel the impacts of drought, and creating local water supplies are always so important to our sustainability. Now on to our Water Campus project, which includes this, what we call a multi-use path, a bike and pedestrian, also includes a new administration and operations building that's located at the front of the facility, so we're not behind a locked gate and a long driveway. There'll be a public parking lot with 31 parking spaces, public electric vehicle charging stations, stormwater capture and reuse, improved fire and security enhancements, photovoltaic solar energy, just over 0.5 megawatt, producing about 25% of the facility's power needs, and improvements to Manchester Avenues to improve safety on that road. From an aerial view, you can see here's our site. The orange line is the bike and pedestrian path that will carve around our property and end up on Manchester right across from the Nature Center. This will be a derivative off of the bike path that will be along the I-5 corridor, all part of the North Coastal Corridor project from Caltrans. Zooming in a little bit on our property, the site will have 7 acres of open space for sensitive habitat that will be nestled next to the bike path. The bike path will be 12 feet of paved asphalt with DG on both sides of it. And that will be over predominantly a regional storm drain system that we've undergrounded to multi-use that property. And again, this is all interconnected into the larger NCC project with our portion there at the bottom of the screen. And again, really improving the transportation of people and bikes in a way that's safe and not in conflict with a lot of vehicle traffic. Looking at our property south to north, you can see the bike path on the left side that runs along the property line. It will terminate right there on Manchester, where you can see that there's a trailhead being constructed right now. That'll be almost like a pocket park where there'll be seating walls and trees, shade trees, and a drinking fountain, and a nice termination point to that bike path. Here's the architect's rendering of that. It'll include what will appear to be a water feature, but it'll actually have stormwater capture and treatment benefits. We'll have grass, a little area for a dog-friendly run area, if you will. Always a little bit limited for animal walking in this part of Cardiff, as well as the seating walls that I mentioned. Crossing Manchester has always been a little challenging in this area. This is a photo from a nature center event where they post crossing guards to help folks cross that street safely. So as part of our project, we'll have improvements to help benefit that. We've had a little bit of a history of some car accidents in this area too. So again, any improvements that we can gain here for safety improvements was greatly appreciated. Again, we'll be increasing the bike and pedestrian crossings with these new trails. So the architectural rendering of this will look something close to this. The signals are already being constructed right now, and we expect to be automated in the next few weeks. It's designed to be green in the flow of traffic. We understand that nobody's really excited about another signal in their community, but we're designing this in a way that will minimize glare of the lights to the surrounding homes. And also it's, again, predominantly green in the flow of traffic, but then we'll signal through when a pedestrian or bike or a vehicle calls it from either side of the road. I do want to recognize some of our project partners. This is a $20.6 million project. And so in addition to our member agencies, which is the City of Encinitas and Solana Beach, we've received funding from Caltrans in the state of California that totals near $6 million for this project. And we've had great support with the Nature Collective and the San Diego County Park and Recreation Department. And our ribbon cutting of the event, which is open to the public, and I invite the City Council to attend as well, is scheduled for October 19th at 9 a.m. And with that, that concludes my brief presentation, and I'd be happy to take any questions that the council might have.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. You know, as a board member for multiple years on this San Elijo wastewater district, I just want to recognize how complex this project is and how dedicated you've been to bringing it into reality. So this is the water campus plus these things like the parking lot that can be used by the public and access a real substantial community improvement for people who are trying to access the visitor center. And then this bike path that goes through the wastewater district and pops out right across from the visitor center will allow people to then go into the lagoon and navigate all in there and enjoy that. And also just ride their bike to the west or jump on the trail headed east. This really will provide a lot of great benefits. And then of course, this campus itself is much safer and higher functioning and will allow us to do the public's work in the most efficient way. And so, yeah, I just want to thank you for all that and coming forward today to share it a little bit with us. This is, of course, happening in our city, and it's being done by this relatively small agency. So I think in some ways it has had very little press. Luckily, it was actually in the Union Tribune recently on the front page of the local section, which I was very happy to see. But, you know, I do encourage the public to all come to the ribbon cutting if you're interested in seeing it. And I think we'll be doing tours of the building. So you're welcome to come inside and check out everything that we have to offer at this little wastewater district. So thank you again, Mike, for all you do.
My pleasure.
And then now I'll call on the Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you. I would like to second the thanks to Mike and San Elijo JPA for this particular project, but I'd also like to thank Caltrans and Alan Kossop. I know that when the Coastal Rail Trail was under development, we were meeting regularly to talk about issues that might have arisen in the construction of that project. And this particular aspect, this project was a part of those conversations as well, and it wasn't easy. I haven't been involved in this for quite some time, so if Mike Caltrans didn't make a contribution to this, then you can correct me. But it's my understanding that they did have some of the proverbial skin in the game. They had some funds that contributed to this project. Is that correct?
That is correct. They made a substantial contribution to the project, over $5 million, as well as many hours of their staff time to look at a variety of issues. We really dug into how we can make Manchester a safer road. We examined options of roundabout. That was our preferred option, and examined, I think, 7 different iterations of a roundabout there. The topography and the right-of-way limits on that road make it very challenging to put a roundabout there. And so ultimately we went with a signal. Wasn't our top choice, but we feel that it will achieve the safety aspects that are needed for that intersection. So yeah, Caltrans was a great partner on this project. When you have a good partner, when they're tough but fair on their negotiations, and I always felt that they were tough but fair, and were great when we were able to reach agreement on who was going to do what and what the costs were. They were just a great partner to have by you to make this project a reality.
Yeah, so and it was important, I think, for us to have this lower trail as opposed to just having the upper trail that was parallel and adjacent to the freeway, that this is a much more recreational use here and connects some of the trails. So my hat's off to you and your team for making this happen. The one other thing that I wanted to ask about, the history of the open culvert that is being covered by this trail is there's quite a skateboarder lore because of the use that facility got for the young skaters like Tony Hawk and others who rode to fame by bombing that culvert. So I wonder if there's going to be any recognition of that with any particular signage, or whether that would be something we might be able to do.
That's a great thought. We were actually, there's still an element of that storm channel that is open, and it's part of the more popular skated area, although technically illegal. So I'm not endorsing skating it, but we actually had some conversations with a past city manager about potentially making that a mini skate park. We weren't able to achieve quite that goal, but that is in the back of my mind. It would be really neat because skateboarders kind of like a more industrial site. So still in the back of our head, and would be neat if we could make something like that to come to fruition. But I do enjoy the thoughts of having some acknowledgement to Tony Hawk and the others that have skated the Cardiff Trench for many decades.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Mosca.
Yeah, I just want to also add my voice to saying thank you to Mike. I remember when I was serving on the board of directors and we were having these discussions in really early kind of iterations of the trail going up through the property and also the trail along the I-5 corridor and all of the stuff that was going on. And so just excited to see that it continued on and your leadership really helped bring this to fruition. And it's not just the structure that you see in front of you. It's not just the fact that, as a board member and as staff members at San Alejo, we were sitting in 1950s cinder block buildings that could fall down at any time with seismic activity, which were incredibly dangerous. So it's not just this structure, but Mike, I think Mike is amazing. I think your leadership is amazing because of all the dots that you've connected to get this done. Let's not forget that we also dredged the lagoon through some of this project. We also put in an outfall line, and some folks in Cardiff will remember that banging noise. But we put that outfall line in, which was replaced and allowed us to continue doing what we were doing. We improved the nature collective through your leadership and others with trails. We've put another trail along Manchester, and then that whole big overpass that's happening on the I-5. So this is all part of the Caltrans kind of San Alejo, Nature Collective, all of these projects were connected. And I'm just thankful to your leadership and Doug Gibson and many others who really, connected the dots and saw how this could all come together with several different buckets of money. And just so excited to see this come together. So thank you for your leadership, your continued leadership on behalf of our residents, and look forward to cutting the ribbon on this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lyons.
Thank you. And thank you, Mike, for coming to present. Joe said a lot of the things that I was going to make sure were said tonight too, because you're not only meeting your own mission, you're addressing the concerns of the community. And I think you've done an exemplary job of that. This is going to be an asset to not only your objectives and your goals, but the community at large. So thank you for modeling that for us. I mean, that's exactly what we hope to achieve with all of our improvements. I think that you've communicated it really well here in this presentation today. So I also want to thank you for that. One of the things I wanted to point out is when you gave me a tour of your facility back a couple months ago, one of the things you spoke about is how you were concerned with all the neighbors and the concerns of the community at large. I was impressed with how, construction noise, things like that are often common issues that the community has. And you came up with you listened, and then you came up with some novel approaches to addressing some of those concerns that the community had. And, I know sometimes people might not want a traffic light at this location, but my gut feeling says that it will make the crossing and the street and the pedestrians and bicycles safer. And I think and the bicycling there safer. And I think that's really going to be a public good. So I think you went the right direction with that. Let's see. Oh, I just had one question, and if you covered it and I missed it, I apologize, but this looks like such an amazing educational campus. Do you have the objective of having the community engaged in this campus? What are your thoughts there?
We do. And again, this is a facility that's been there since the early 60s. At that time, it was a sewage treatment plant. And then in the 90s, that board of directors was forward thinking, and they created a water reclamation facility that came online in 2000. And we just felt it was appropriate that the next step for this facility is to just brand it and take it to a water campus. And so it's a functioning campus that not only treats water, stormwater, wastewater, give us your used water, we'll make it clean, and then repurpose it back for use in our community. We felt that there was an opportunity here to do educational, water education, vocational training, and research. And so we've done a lot of work in those areas. Before the pandemic, we were getting about 900 students and educators through our facility and through the Nature Center, where we can educate the kids about how nature naturally treats water through a watershed, and then compare that to what a engineered system, how that works. Get them excited about the science and math and potential interest in our industry. With the community colleges, we're working with the students that are studying on their AA degrees for water and wastewater, giving them an opportunity to actually get hands-on training at our facility, build credit hours for certification to help them enter into the industry. And then we work with a number of professors at San Diego State in their engineering department, having grad students do research at our facility for their thesis, their master thesis. And again, this is an amazing resource here in Cardiff, where we feel that we want to maximize its value to the community, open up it so that the community can walk by it or skateboard by it, and have a sense that this is a water campus. And it's really, I think, consistent with Encinitas's environmental looking mindset. And our goal is to be hand in hand in step with that.
That's great to hear. Thanks for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Mayor
Thank you.
Blakespear, we do have one public speaker on this,
Okay, let's call on them.
Christine Schindler.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. I wasn't even sure I could speak to someone who was doing a presentation. So thank you for the opportunity, Mike. Wonderful presentation. And I just wanted to add on at the ribbon cutting, Mike reached out to me, and we're actually going to have a couple of local bike organizations there to have loaner bikes so that people, if they want to ride the new section of pathway, they'll be able to. So we'll have happy bikes there with e-bikes, and our very own Cardiff bike shop with some classic old-fashioned manual bikes, so that people that are there for the ribbon cutting can actually experience the pathway. And I just want to say kudos. It's so wonderful that we're going to have this other option. Really look forward to this connection. It's important for active transportation, for recreation and commuting. And I really look forward to being able to ride it the first time. And I'm so happy that you're going to be able, you and your staff are going to be able to move out of a trailer and into a beautiful facility. So you certainly deserve that, and congratulations.
That concludes speakers on this item.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll move on to our oral communications now. So thanks so much, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, we do have several oral communications, and I just remind all of those that have registered for oral communications, this is an opportunity to speak on items that are not listed on the agenda. So if I do call your name and you intended to speak on an agenda item, please let me know. And reminder that for oral communications, you do have 3 minutes. For item 10A, because of the number of speakers that we have, speakers for item 10A will be limited to 2 minutes each. So our first speaker for oral communications is Gerald Ann Kessler.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. First of all, I love that project that he was just talking about. I took both of my kids to that nature center when they were having a hard time with science, and it's just wonderful. So anyway, but I would like to speak today about the environmental nightmare housing staver project on Melba Road in Encinitas that is slated for 31 homes on 6.6 acres and take down a grove of mature Torrey pines. In addition to this, 173 other trees and 30 other smaller trees and native shrubs, and demo a historical home built in 1938, all based on the density bonus law AB 2345. I recently learned that the city plans to remove all but one of the mature trees on Melba Road, which has served as a tree canopy for many years for the neighborhood, just to widen the road less than a foot and to assist with the overflow parking for the Staver project. We have learned that Brian Staver still continues to harass the longtime senior residents in the neighboring community about property lines. Again, all these tax-paying longtime residents want to do is to age peacefully in place, and now they had to attain costly legal services. After much research of this environmental Staver nightmare project, the second submission, the hydrology and bioretention basins are still faulty. They do not seem to work correctly. The plans currently read to drain the runoff uphill as Brian tries to reinvent the wheel on this. We are also learning about the rules of tree preservation and that his plans for root pruning do not align with the best management practices for the neighborhood's boundary trees. I would like to get that accurate tree count for this project because somehow the second submission did not account for 100 trees that were on the first one. Please assist our community with preservation and open space on this small piece of land, with finding grant money from state and federal agencies, along with fundraising from the community. This property is an ideal location for open space preservation for Encinitas, or a possible annex for the botanical gardens, serving as an outdoor STEM classroom. That is why I'm asking the council to assist in acquiring this property from the Staver Trust for open space to help the neighborhood. And it could be grant writing for soft infrastructure and tap into the funding that may come through the infrastructure bills that are being worked on in Congress. This property is close to Oakcrest Park and Middle School, Boys and Girls Club and Garden, the last rural horse farm in Encinitas, and the community center. We need to acquire this from the Staver Trust before it's too late and they clear cut our Melba tree line, which equates to the Encinitas redwoods. Don't turn this into a heat island. Soft infrastructure refers to all the institutions that maintain the economic, health, social, environmental, and cultural standards of the country. This includes educational programs, official statistics, parks and recreation facilities, law enforcement, emergency services.
Gerald Ann, that is your 3 minutes.
Oh, just one more thing. We really need council member to assist, because we realize that Joy cannot assist because she lives too close to the project. And we would really appreciate a point person for this. Thank you so much.
Next speaker is Rene Yeomans.
Oh, I thought I was speaking on the safe parking lot.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
thank you. I'll call you. No, that's okay. I'll call you during that item. Next speaker is Adam Huey.
Hey there, I'm also scheduled to speak for the parking lot.
Perfect, thank you. Next speaker is Peggy Walker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is Peggy Walker, and I'm here because this month is Substance Abuse Recovery Month. And last week, we observed National Addiction Professionals Day. Working in public health, I find few people more deserving of recognition than addiction professionals. And I'm here because those of us who have experienced real-life lessons in adolescent marijuana use know that youth addiction is devastating. Among the harmful outcomes, some kids have psychotic breaks and end up in hospitals and treatment for lengthy periods, often into adulthood at great expense. Some die from marijuana-related suicide, and I happen to know of 3 who did. So as you proceed to codify Measure H, I'd like to share recommendations from the Partnership to End Addiction. They say that exposure to marijuana is harmful to youth and that restricting youth access must be a deliberate and essential element of law, not an afterthought. One effective strategy is capping THC potency, which at current levels is a major contributor to addiction. Cities can do this, make these caps. If we want to make an impact on addiction, we must be willing to do something about it. If not, we're contributing to the problem. Addiction professionals recommend banning colorful packaging, child-oriented product names, enticing flavors, and edibles that resemble candy and other treats consumed by children. In line with this, I urge the city to place a ban on flavored marijuana products, just if you have wisely banned flavored tobacco products. Addiction professionals also recommend prohibiting advertising, promotion, and sale of marijuana near locations that young people frequent. Please consider these recommendations, especially the ban on flavored marijuana products. These will have positive benefits for the youth and our community. And thank you for your work, Council. I appreciate this time to speak.
Next speaker is Christine Schindler.
All right, so Christine Schindler, East Encinitas. The last speaker made me also remember that September is Fall Prevention Month. So because it's the first day of fall, I just wanted to let you know that's something else I'm also involved in and hoping to do something with the city of Encinitas at the senior center. I wanted to mention, I noticed some new bike parking today at Cardiff Seaside. And I know that recently went in and there's more bike parking to come. Crystal Nahira was at our Encinitas Bike Walk meeting last night and gave us an update. So I'm very excited about that. I appreciate you putting in more bike parking around the city to encourage more recreation and active transportation. And I also wanted to mention that October is considered Walktober. It has Walk to School Day. And so I just wanted to make everybody aware that on Wednesday, October 6th, hopefully you will see many, many, many more students walking to school. And just wanted to make you aware of that so we can all be super safe. We had EcoFest this past weekend on Sunday. I was very happy to see many of you there. It was small, however, it was safe and it was something that we were actually able to do. So I appreciate and want to acknowledge John Giada and the planning group that was involved in making EcoFest possible. So, and then I just want to wish you well. This is going to be a tough meeting for everyone and it's potentially going to go long. So get up and move and hydrate and peace be with you.
Next speaker is Kelly McCormick.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I ask for your patience because this comment is non-agenda. As you know, or as many of you may know, I'm a San Diego Union High School district parent, and also I'm a public health educator. And in that role, I have a lot of conversations with other parents in Encinitas. There seems to be a recurring theme, and that is that people feel they're being left out of the conversation on key issues. The most recent example, of course, is the debate over the possible relocation of the safe parking lot to the City Recreation Center near Oakcrest Middle School. I'm not here to weigh in on the location, but to wonder why no one thought to notify the school board or the parents of Oakcrest students earlier in the process. Certainly, they should have had the right to weigh in on this important decision. There is similar concern about the city's approach to implementing Measure H, the industry-backed initiative that will bring marijuana storefronts, manufacturing facilities, and marijuana farms to Encinitas. Please don't make decisions on this behind closed doors, only to release a completed framework that has not considered public opinion as an important part of the process. There are many decisions to be made about vetting applicants, notifying neighbors when a marijuana business location is proposed, the process for filing complaints, such as odor complaints, and what remediation will take place. It is paramount that public opinion is considered a valuable part of this process, not just an afterthought. Thank you for your consideration.
Next speaker is Helen Kwan. Helen? Helen, are you just speaking on item 10A?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll call you during that item. Next is Stephanie Wheeler. Stephanie, are you just speaking on item 10A? Need to unmute your microphone. Stephanie, can you unmute your microphone? I think I have you down. Stephanie, I'll call you during item 10A. Looking to see, I think, yes, Matt and Stephanie. Matt Wheeler, is Matt on the line? Matt Wheeler?
No, I think they're both on the same Zoom account.
Okay, so they're both. Watana Tucker? I did not see Watana.
I can try the phone that called in.
Yeah, let's see. Whoever, the last three digits of your phone number is 604. Can you tell me who you are? if you're registered to speak. They're not responding. Okay, I don't see Watana. Ruben Flores. Ruben, are you speaking under oral communications or just on item 10A?
I'm speaking under oral communications.
Okay, great. You can start when ready.
Wonderful. Thank you. City Council members, where do I start? My comments are meant for the public record and not because I believe that they will have any effect on any of my concerns. I am an immigrant and a Democrat who is extremely disappointed with the way that many of decisions in our council are made without debate and simply agreeing to what Catherine wishes. I know that at least Tony, who was not originally appointed by Catherine, attempts to break with the rest, but it's too little too late. The damage to our city and democratic process has sustained by allowing Catherine to appoint 3 additional council members, I think is clearly evident. I'm going to repeat what I said before. Tyrants are only allowed to rule when we don't oppose them. And unfortunately, no one in this council opposes Catherine. Catherine, when you called me and left me a voice message last year asking to call you back in regards to my comments about acting as an elitist, I first thought that that would be an opportunity to initiate a dialogue. However, when I've heard your message again, I realized that you were making it all about how you felt hurt by my comments, not really being willing to listen. So I was very disappointed by hearing that again. Of course, you have the right to silence dissenting voices in your state Facebook campaign and personal Facebook page. But I think that only reiterates that you solely want to hear what you want to hear and not willing to work with the more than 40% voters who didn't elect you. I remain particularly concerned about the attempts to manipulate the redistricting process that occurred in the past. With the public comments of Councilmember Krantz asserting that the council voted had the intent of removing Mark from his post, I would like to hear more from Tony and have him publicly share any additional knowledge that he has on any pressures or had to have the council vote in a particular way. Our city is doing well because it's a strong city and will survive this mismanagement. Thank you for that. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'll speak later on 10A.
Next speaker is Kimberly Lopez. Kimberly, looking here, I do not see Kimberly on the list. David Chapman.
Hello. Hello, Mayor and council members. I'm here tonight to tell a horrific story of a bunch of friends, mostly grad students at UCSD, but some professionals going out for a friend's 40th birthday party to the nightclub Shelter. One of the members of our party was slipped a roofie that had fentanyl in it, and we needed to rush her to the hospital where she was given Narcan, and it saved her life. She was treated as if she was just a drunk at the bar, although family members and close friends knew that for her to be so incapacitated was not a usual thing. So she spent the night in the hospital, and the next day, I went to the bar. I'm the only member of that party that actually lives in Encinitas. I went to the bar to try to speak to a manager. When I got there, Shelter was closed. We tried to get a hold of them all day long in attempts to keep any videotapes that they may have so that we might be able to catch this perpetrator. We went to the bar saloon. I guess they have the same owner. And I was told by one of the employees, I was given a fake number. After attempting over and over again to get a number, I eventually came across one of the manager's numbers where they told me that they do not have video cameras So they have no footage. I'm here. I think that there should be a city ordinance for these types of bars to have some accountability. They should have cameras in their bar. In this modern age, having live cameras it should not be a difficult thing for them to do. They've taken zero accountability. They've never reached out to the victim. And I continue to hear over and over again that this happens all the time. I don't think that this should be swept under the rug. I don't think that this should be just, oh, it happened again. I think that with our community, we need to put an end to this and hold the bars accountable. We need a police report was also made, and I guess sheriff said that there was nothing they can do. But a young girl almost died. These bars are making thousands and thousands of dollars, and they have zero accountability, and it's just going to happen again and again. And I think it's best for our community to do something about it.
Thank you. That does conclude your 3 minutes. And then the final speaker, Max Perez. Max, are you only speaking on item 10A? Need to unmute your microphone.
Yes, I.
Are you speaking on item 10A only?
I'm sorry, ma'am. Just 1 second. Yeah, what item was this again?
We're under oral communications, but you're registered under oral communications and item 10A, which is the safe parking. Are you just intending to speak on item 10A?
10A would be
the safe parking lot.
Yes, is that regarding the like the homeless encampment
Yes,
situation?
I'll call you during that item.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that does conclude oral communications.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, I have wondering if we can ask the city manager to perhaps work with the planning department to see if there's anything we can do about bars in our city having extra protection for their patrons. And I don't know if we can look at what other cities are doing. Perhaps we can kind of hear this issue in the future about what else we can do.
Okay, sounds good. Did you get that, city manager? Yes.
And
Councilmember Lyons.
Madam Mayor, if I could just also add on that, I was going to ask a similar question, and I don't mind asking David if he's still listening, or if there's a way his contact information could be shared with me. I don't mind seeing if I could follow up with him, and I'm curious to understand the sheriff's response. So, Pam, if you could provide his contact information. I'm not quite sure how that's done here on the Zoom. But
I'm sure that's possible. Yeah, the city clerk has it.
I'd be happy to follow up and make sure I understand and see if I can help.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hinsey.
Yeah, I support my colleagues in those requests, and I would just also ask that perhaps we could host a Narcan, how to administer Narcan in the city of Encinitas, and maybe specifically teach folks who work in the restaurant industry how to do so.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you to the public speakers and to my colleagues. And let's move to, do we have any closed session announcements?
No.
Okay, then we have do we have any changes to the posted agenda?
Mayor, there are no changes to the posted agenda, but as I mentioned earlier, for item 10A, speakers will be limited to 2 minutes each. And then moving to the consent calendar, I have one person registered to speak, but I do not see them in the queue. And that was on item 8G, but I do not see that individual present.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion on the consent calendar.
I'll move the consent calendar. And I do want to comment on 8G, if it's possible.
Go ahead.
We've received some comments on this item, and I just want to thank city staff for going above and beyond with this contract and making sure it is 8G, right, that we're talking about. Yeah. Just making sure that as NCTD is installing infrastructure like fencing along the northern portions of the rail corridor, that we're doing it the Encinitas way. That we're conscious of the quality of the fence. We're conscious of the aesthetics and how it's going to sit in our community, and that we're going above and beyond and not just having the chain link fence put in, but something that makes sense for that corridor. And sometimes these are small things, but this is where it makes a difference. So I just want to thank city staff for going the extra mile, and Deputy Mayor Kranz for making sure that this was also something that got into this agreement and that it's happening. Just like it happened in the southern portion, we'll see the same, if not better, fencing along that part of the corridor in the northern portion. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Mosca. Deputy Mayor.
I think that Councilmember Mosca is actually talking about 8D. 8G is the one that does an MOU with NCTD for the study that we authorized for the at-grade crossing. So
8D.
Yeah, 8D is the one. And yes, the fencing post and cable that you see out there now is going to continue. So I would second your motion to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and vote on the consent calendar.
Councilmember Hensy?
Yes.
Councilmember Lyons?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosca?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kranz?
Yes.
And Mayor Blakespear?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to item 10A. And again, before the staff report, just reminding all of our speakers, you will have 2 minutes each.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and have a staff report on item 10A, our only agenda item tonight, and then we will move on to the speakers.
Good evening, Jennifer Gates. Christian Gutierrez will be doing a presentation for you all tonight, and then that will be followed by Chris Olson, who will present for JFS on the actual safe parking program. So with that, I will let Christian start.
Christian, are you working on starting? Okay.
Yes, sorry for the delay. I'll be 1 second.
Okay. And Councilmember Kranz, is your hand already up or is that previously up?
Yeah, it's up.
Okay.
I'd like to speak after the staff report.
Okay, got it.
I'm sorry, let me see what screen you're seeing. One second, I apologize for that. There we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Christian Gutierrez. I'm a Housing Services Manager with Development Services. Before you tonight is a request to locate the safe parking lot at the Encinitas Community Center at 1140 Oakcrest Park Drive, operated by Jewish Family Services for a maximum of 25 vehicles, accommodating households living in their cars, and a public hearing to consider ordinance number 2021-09 to create reasonable local standards and procedures for operations of a safe parking lot in accordance with the state shelter crisis law. In October 2018, the city adopted a resolution number 2018-85 declaring a shelter crisis in the city. In September of 2020, the state amended the shelter crisis law, requiring local jurisdictions to adopt local standards for homeless shelters created under the shelter crisis law. Under shelter crisis law and local police powers, city can determine it is in its public interest to mitigate the effects of the shelter crisis. The new law also included clarifications that safe parking is considered a homeless shelter. In February 2021, City Council adopted the Homeless Action Plan, which recognized activities to enhance the capacity of housing based upon the best practice standards for emergency shelter, which acknowledged the safe parking program as an emergency shelter option. In 2021, Jewish Family Service received a Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention HAP grant from the Regional Task Force on Homelessness to operate a safe parking lot in North County and provide resources and services to help homeless individuals who were living out of their vehicles to stabilize and transition back into permanent housing. The funding amount ends on June 30th, 2022. The proposed location for the safe parking is the Encinitas Community and Senior Center, located at 1140 Oakcrest Park Drive. The safe parking program is proposed to be located in a designated area of the lower parking lot of the Community and Senior Center, and it will include portable restrooms and a temporary trailer for use by employees for storage. For JFS to operate a safe parking program at the Community and Senior Center, the city will need to adopt a reasonable local standards by ordinance and approve a use agreement with JFS for the operation of a safe parking program. JFS will need to obtain any required building permits and a coastal development permit for a temporary trailer on the site. In addition, the city will need to process a substantial conformance review for the proposed use of the parking spaces to ensure compliance with the existing conditional use permit parking requirements for the Community and Senior Center. For JFS to operate a safe parking in Encinitas, City Council must adopt local standards and procedures for the operation of the safe parking lot under the new provisions of the shelter crisis law. These standards are included in attachment 1, Exhibit A, some of which are provided on the slide, including a maximum of 25 parking spaces used. Participants may be on site from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m., 7 days a week, and no smoking, alcohol, or drugs. Safety and security standards are also included in the ordinance, including security on site from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week, and illegal drug use will result in an immediate disqualification. Also, no visitors are allowed on at any time. So in addition, the City Council must approve a use agreement with Jewish Family Services to operate the safe parking program on city property. So the term of the use agreement would be through June 30th, 2022. At the conclusion of the HAP funding, if staff is directed to move forward with allowing a safe parking, if staff is directed to move forward with allowing a safe parking program at the Community and Senior Center, staff will return at a future meeting for approval of the use agreement. The use agreement will include more information on the program, process, and metrics seen on the next few slides. But these include JFS will give priority to referrals from Encinitas-based organizations such as service providers, schools, colleges, healthcare entities, and faith-based organizations, to name a few. Before someone enters the lot, JFS case managers do an off-site eligibility check. JFS will conduct a Megan's Law National Sex Offender Registry and outstanding warrant check on all adults Those who are registered sex offenders or have outstanding warrants are ineligible. Participants must fill out formal intake forms and sign the safe parking program guidelines once they have been confirmed qualified. Individualized client support is provided by the program personnel who assist each participant in developing a strategy to meet their specific requirements and boost their income and navigate acquiring permanent housing. JFS will provide both demographics of participants and number of participants exiting the program. The goal is to transition at least 30% of participants from the program into secure housing. Crime data will be collected in collaboration with the Sheriff's Department and reported to the city. The reporting area will be about 1 mile radius of the community and senior center, and data reported will include calls for service, type, and crimes committed. If City Council provides direction to staff to move forward with a proposed parking program at the community and senior center, staff will return to City Council with the use agreement, which will outline the responsibilities, operations, and client service metrics that will be performed throughout its operation. If the ordinance is introduced tonight, staff will return on October 13th to adopt the ordinance to create a safe parking program standards. So staff requests is the direction on the parking program and the proposed location of the community and senior center, and to introduce ordinance number 2021-09. This concludes my presentation. Chris Olson and John Lawther from JFS will be providing a presentation on safe parking now, and staff will be available to answer any questions.
Hi, if it's all right, Mayor and council members, I'll continue now. Good evening, and thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm Chris Olson, Chief of Staff with Jewish Family Services San Diego. We appreciate the opportunity to share information about our safe parking program, which we've operated in partnership with the City of Encinitas since January 2020. Over the course of the past 18 months of running the program, the safe parking program in Encinitas has provided shelter and has helped 43 households get out of their vehicles and return back to housing. That's families, seniors, military veterans, and college students who found housing again and were able to avoid the downward spiral of being homeless on the streets of our community. Let me take a moment to tell you about the people that we serve. For many, it is their first time experiencing homelessness. The majority have a source of income and need assistance to get themselves and their family back on track. These are members of our community from all faiths, backgrounds, and ages, and we have found that our participants have strong ties to the community, either working in our local businesses, going to community colleges, or staying in the neighborhood that they call home. This is where they live. Here are the facts about the people. Here are the facts about where the people we serve come from. 90% of the participants of safe parking come from North County communities, and 30% are individuals whose last place of residence was within Encinitas. The safe parking program is vital in keeping participants safe and able to maintain employment or schooling in the area. And here are some facts about the people who turn to safe parking for help. 92% are experiencing homelessness for the first time in their lives. 50% of adults hold at least one job, and many work multiple jobs. 46% are older adults over the age of 60. The safe parking program is a critical part of the region's overall homelessness strategy and the homeless action plan approved by the City Council. Safe parking reaches our neighbors facing homelessness quickly and effectively after they've lost housing and before they're forced to live on the street. Safe parking provides the security and support needed for people to get back into a stable housing situation before experiencing further hardship. Studies and facts show that the quicker we can intervene with support, the faster people can return to housing and begin to rebuild their lives. I know that community members have expressed concerns about the senior and community center site, and I want to reinforce this important point. JFS is committed to the safety of both our program participants and the surrounding neighborhoods. We've worked directly with the Sheriff's Department, have security measures in place, and we're constantly monitoring and evaluating our procedures to maintain public safety. And the most important thing is, during our program hours of 6 p.m. to 7 a.m., we have on-site security guards present at all times. Our participants are pre-enrolled, and security manages their entry onto the premises, then closely monitors the lot and the participants overnight, and ensures that all the participants exit in the morning. All adults in the program are cross-checked through the Megan's Law database and the National Sex Offender Registry. Drug and alcohol use is prohibited in the safe parking program, and is cause for dismissal. At the most recent City Council meeting on the safe parking program, Captain Taft from the Sheriff's Department stated that there has been no increase in crime as a result of safe parking. Community support is what has made the safe parking program a success. It is through our partnerships that we've helped so many individuals and families find safety and reclaim their lives. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for your partnership over the past year and a half. Together, we're making a real impact for people who are seeking help in breaking out of the downward spiral of homelessness.
Is that the end?
That concludes the presentations, and staff is available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I see the deputy mayor wanted to raise his hand very quickly, so I'm going to call on him right now.
Thank you. And I appreciate the presentations. I have, been reflecting on this situation that we find ourselves in, and recalling the several meetings that we had that were quite contentious. I remember I voted against the Safe Parking program for the during the first vote, and subsequently, when we were visited by the pandemic, I thought it was a pretty important program to have in place. And I think that the track record that has been proven by JFS and the participants in the program merits finding another place for it to be located. That said, I think that in this particular case, I'm quite concerned about the fact that the school district, we didn't do a good job in communicating with the school district and opening this up for a dialogue so that board members there might have a better understanding of the success of the program and how their concerns about safety were not really relevant in this particular case. These people that are in this program do not present a safety risk that's greater than the general public. So I think we missed an opportunity to make that case to the school board so that we had their support instead of what we saw on Monday, which was a special meeting in order to adopt a resolution of no support. And I know that my beliefs in the school as the center of the community continues to this day, and I think that some of the most important relationships that we have as a city and as a city council is with the elected officials that represent those school boards. And so it would be my request that we consider postponing this agenda item until we could conduct a community participation program meeting that would be much more appropriate for receiving community input than a city council meeting where 2 minutes per speaker is the way we conduct the hearing. So I don't know if anybody else has comments that they would like to add. I would be willing to make a motion to postpone to a date certain, perhaps 30 days from now, to continue this conversation as a city council, but only after the public has had a better chance to digest what it is that we have gone through in order to evaluate other locations in the city and how we arrived at deciding that this was the right place to have this program. So With that, I would ask that maybe we could have a little conversation about this idea before we move into the speakers.
I mean, from my perspective, this is something that should happen after we hear from the speakers and after council members have asked questions of the staff, like about the outreach that was done, and then we can have any motion we want on this topic. But you know, circumventing this right now with a motion at the beginning, I don't think that that's really appropriate. I think we need to hear from the public, and then we can have this whole conversation among the five of us.
Well, it seems like we're putting the community through a lot when they could get many more questions answered in a community participation program type forum as opposed to this one. But you know, there's a long list of people, and I think that they're all you know, attempting to make their case that we should decide against this or decide for this. And I think that it forecloses the ability to have a conversation that's a little bit more of a dialogue as opposed to you know, the precursor to a vote that's going to adopt or not adopt this program relocation. So that's my concern. I appreciate the perspective that you bring to it, but in the end, I think a lot of these folks since we are meeting virtually, it isn't as if they came to City Hall to speak. It's a little bit easier to postpone until a future date, but it is indeed your meeting, so we'll conduct it how you see fit.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should have a conversation among the five of us after we hear public comment and ask questions. And your motion could come out of that, and we'll allow everyone else to have their suggested path forward as well. So the city staff, you know, as recommended that we move this to this location, and that's what's on the agenda tonight. So I would like to go ahead and take the public comment. Joy, did you, or Councilmember Lyons, did you want to say something?
Yes, I would. I perhaps was going to go a little bit different direction, but now that you've said that you'd like to hear the public comment, I will say that I also would like to hear the public comment. But I did want to ask staff a question for clarity. And if I missed it, I apologize, but I understand that we are primarily for sites for this relocation of the program. For sites, we are focused on sites that the city owns, and I just want to kind of get that out there as one of the criteria we're looking at, and looking for confirmation from either Jennifer or Christian on that.
Madam Mayor, if I could, I can answer that for the staff.
Yeah.
Councilmember Lyons is correct. We did focus on city-owned sites, and we can go into more detail after the public comment. But sadly, we were unsuccessful in finding another private or not-for-profit site for this move.
And it's my thought that a city-owned site might serve us better to be a more permanent location. Was that one of the objectives behind looking at a city-owned site?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Being that it's city-owned, we have more control over the property. A property that's privately held or held by another public entity, we don't have as much control over. So it could be that considering city-owned sites as a top priority would help to foster a permanent location for the program.
I wouldn't say that any of the locations are permanent because the program is fully grant funded. And I don't think the city or Jewish Family Services can guarantee that the program will always be able to be funded because it's funded by grants. So
that's a good point.
I understand your question, but I don't think that's not a part of our consideration. We're just looking for a place to move it during this grant period that's funded.
Okay,
now, whether or not it stays at this location, I think depends upon a lot of things, including the council and their desire to keep it there and or how it does over at this location. But I do think we're getting ahead of the the purpose of tonight's meeting is to receive the public comment on the staff recommendation. And if after hearing the public comment, the council decides that you wish to get additional information or take action tonight or do something else, but I would suggest that you take the public comment and continue on with the item and then provide us some direction at the end.
Okay, thank you. So City Clerk, let's go ahead and begin the public comment.
Okay, we do have approximately 38 speakers. And just a reminder to the speakers, you each have 2 minutes. The first speaker is Jody Ibsen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and Chris Olson with the Jewish Family Service. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. I just want to clarify that I'm not speaking on behalf of the Safe Parking or the Jewish Family Services. However, I am a user of the Safe Parking facility, and I am a disabled senior with a master's degree in English, and I worked 25 years in publishing and then went on to become an admissions person of a 4-year private college as the Associate Director of Admissions and Outreach. I have a lot of very professional experience, and what I'm hearing throughout the community is that these people who see this program are referring to us as drug addicts, mentally ill people, child molesters, things of that nature, criminals. And I just want to reiterate that, I am part of that 41% group that uses the safe parking as I transition into affordable housing. And I have ads on Craigslist, roommates.com. I even had it on Nextdoor in the Encinitas community to look for an affordable room to rent. And I got absolutely zero support. But I'm waiting to be transitioned into an affordable apartment that will be anywhere from 6 months to a year. So I am utilizing the services. And I just want to make clear that the people that I have met at Safe Parking are upstanding professionals who sometimes go to work, sometimes they go to school. I remember parking next to a woman not long ago, and she was studying from her car light, and I gave her my headlamp and said, please use this, I don't need this. And so there's a lot of community within these safe parking lots, and it pains me greatly to hear that people are referring to us as drug addicts and mentally ill people who are losers, and we're not. And that's all I want to say.
The next speaker is Tom Scott.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm Tom Scott. I've lived here for 26 years. My son and daughter graduated from public schools here. I commend our mayor, the city council, and Jewish Family Services for supporting the safe parking program and extending a helping hand to our houseless neighbors. When a new drug comes to market, there are 2 criteria, safety and efficacy. The safe parking program is safe. Sheriff Taft keeps close tabs on the program and reports that it doesn't contribute to crime in any way. Pre-approval of participants, limited hours from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m., and other safety measures haven't changed. So there's absolutely no reason to think that there will be any problems in the future. The safe parking program is effective. Over 90% of participants are newly homeless. So far, case managers have placed a majority of them in permanent housing. Help like this is what often keeps those who have experienced severe economic hardship from sleeping on the streets. Safe and efficacious, the program meets the test. It is also humane. We want to be known for generosity, not cruelty, for reasoned judgment, not irrational fear, for community spirit, not selfish individualism. We want to teach our kids those values as well. 25 cars in a huge parking lot doesn't threaten our children. Decisions based on fear and misinformation do. Good parents quickly learn an important lesson. Actions speak louder than words. We all say we want to help the homeless. Let our actions reflect that. Thank you.
Next speaker is Tom Packard.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Mayor and Council, my name's Tom Packard. I live in Leucadia. I'm a member of Showing Up for Racial Justice North County and the Encinitas for Equality Public Safety Group. I support the plan to move the safe parking program to the Community and Senior Center. This program has been operating successfully and has received renewed state funding through the San Diego Regional Task Force on the Homeless, showing their support for the value of the program. Concerns have been raised about increasing crime, drugs, and prostitution at the proposed location, but the public should remember that Captain Taft shared at a May Council meeting that there had not been an increase in crime related to the safe parking program. Crime, drugs, and prostitution are not characteristics of the people being served by this program. Any such data that applies specifically to this population should be shared so that any realistic concerns can be addressed. Many provisions for security and safety are included in the proposal for the move. Thank you for your time and your attention to this issue and for your commitment to improving the quality of life for all in Encinitas.
Next speaker is Julie Thunder.
Hi, Kathy, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Let me preface my remarks tonight by stating that I am not against a homeless parking lot in Encinitas. If in fact it is a hand up for those in need, I am 100% in support, but I did not support its placement on Saxony, and I don't support its move to the senior center. My first concern is the location of a homeless facility in the middle of so many children's programs. As the mother of 4 girls who attended Oakcrest and whose family frequents St. John's Church services, I find it disturbing that this location made it this far in the process. My second concern is the lack of transparency. In this case, the public deserves to know who picked this location. It appears that it was the mayor's newly formed equity committee, as evidenced by a member's social media post and by a recent committee agenda listing. But the mayor and her personally appointed committee never followed through to discuss this publicly. We're left to conclude that they made this decision behind closed doors. This is no way to conduct the public's business, and it justifies public suspicion. My third concern is for the car campers that sleep in their cars on our streets. Call after call by residents to both the city and the sheriff go unanswered, while the car campers are allowed to ignore standing municipal codes designed to keep our residents safe and our streets clean of human waste. I suggest we have the sheriff give car campers a choice. Either move out of our city or into the homeless parking lot. Please don't make excuses about what the lot administrators can and cannot do. Council members, it's your duty to find solutions to these safety issues. Finally, please rename this the North County Regional Homeless Parking Lot. We know the grant was approved on the condition that it was made available to all of North County, including homeless from Carlsbad, Oceanside, San Marcos, Vista, and Escondido. This facility is not exclusive for Encinitas residents. Homeless persons from throughout North County are sent here for safe parking. The name change would amount to honest disclosure. Thank you.
Next speaker is Joshua Lazarson.
Good evening. My name is Joshua Lazarson. I'm a 28-year resident of Encinitas and a member of Encinitas for Equality. I'm speaking this evening in favor of the relocation of the Jewish Family Services operated safe parking program lot to its proposed new location. If we have the courage in this day and age to engage with the dialogues around issues of civic concern, such as the one before us, what one finds is that obfuscation and at times outright misstatements often take the place of reasoned argument and fact. Here is a fact. The people, and I emphasize the word people, that is our fellow human beings, who have benefited from the safe parking program, have brought no harm to this community. They are our brothers and sisters doing their best to make their way in the context of difficult personal circumstances. They need, and I believe they deserve, our support. My perspective isn't part of function of personal selfishness, because I understand that I could have been and may still one day be that person who seeks the assistance of others in a time of need, a person who needs a home. The actions that we as a human race take out of greed and or fear highlight our worst impulses and often lead to tragic outcomes. Encinitas, for most of us, is the proverbial land of plenty. Many of us have more than we could ever need. Seeding a parking lot to provide a safe, service-oriented home for those temporarily without a home is, I would argue, a modest and decent act. It is, in other words, the least that we can do. Standing against this program feels to me like an act of meanness, pettiness, and short-sightedness. Even if those who take this position are not and would never mean to be any of these things. But more than that, it seems literally senseless. That is, I can make no sense of it. I'm not sure how those who stand opposed explain their position to themselves, given the fact that the program has engendered no harm to Encinitas while doing some basic human good. I hope that you council members will stand for decency, stand with people in need, and approve this program relocation. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
Next speaker is Bob Ayers.
I want to express my strong verbal support and assure you of my ongoing actions to support the safe parking program. We know a lot more now than when the program was first introduced. We know that it gives giving people a safe night's sleep, and that's huge. We know it works to transition people to permanent housing. We know that the people who live there are not a threat. The program at Leech Tag was not a threat. It was never a threat. The people there made good neighbors. The only thing that has changed is the location. People still need to sleep, get a good night's sleep. They still need help finding housing. These are still good neighbors. They are not a threat. Please do not be distracted by the unfounded fear in people. Yes, there is a lot to fear. These good neighbors are not it. The city's support of the program at Leech Tag was a very nice gesture by the city, but hosting the city on city property really reflects the quality, compassion, and service of our fair city. It makes me proud that we are able to convert some unused parking spaces into such a profound gift for some. And an added benefit of this location is that our middle school students will be able to see how wonderful our city is to be so generous and helpful to those people in need. Meet with the people at San Diego Union High School District. Meet with our district leaders, our school district. They have concerns, but don't let them tell you what to do with your property. Adjust to what their concerns are. But let's help these people. Thank you.
Next speaker is Teresa Beauchamp.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Honorable Mayor Blakespear and council members, thank you for your service and support of programs that protect our unsheltered neighbors. I also want to commend Leech Tag Foundation and Jewish Family Services' professional and compassionate hard work to provide an overnight secure place for our recently unhoused residents that include senior citizen veterans who built our community, college students who were raised here, and our families. My name is Teresa Beauchamp, and I have lived in Old Encinitas for 33 years. I support the relocation of the Jewish Family Services Safe Parking Program to the Encinitas Community Center parking lot, which is my neighborhood. Both of my sons attended Oak Crest Middle School and after-school programs at Encinitas Community Center and the Boys and Girls Club. Opponents to this program believe a fear-based, unfounded fiction that safe parking program participants are criminals and drug addicts. The reality is that 93% of participants are experiencing homelessness for the first time. A large percentage of participants were recently laid off due to the pandemic. Participants are carefully screened to include criminal background checks. Alcohol and drugs are prohibited on site. During a May 2021 status review of the program, Captain Taft stated that there had been no criminal activity related to program participants. The only legal issues were program opponents trying to trespass on the property with cameras. High praise to Jewish Family Services case managers who have successfully placed 63% of total participants back into permanent housing. Bravo to our mayor and city council members who have the courage to stand up for our most vulnerable neighbors. Vote yes to relocate and continue the operation of the safe parking program. Thank you.
Next speaker is Rene Yeomans.
Oh my God, Teresa. Proud of you.
Sorry, the unmute button didn't show up till just now.
That's okay.
I am so proud that our city has put in place a safe parking lot. And I sincerely hope that tonight you will vote to move that safe parking to the Encinitas Community and Senior Center to continue this successful program. As we should all know by now, those who will benefit from the safe parking program are diligently vetted and carefully screened. Counter to vicious stereotypes of the homeless population, the people who park their cars to have a place to sleep safely at night are not a threat. Many have fallen on hard time, such as having lost their jobs during the pandemic and have since then become unhoused. I hope the SDU-HSD Board of Ed has taken the time to examine the data from last year by now and maybe are watching. The Jewish Family Services is a respected organization who has managed several safe parking lots around San Diego County with a very good result. And please trust them to work closely with the City of Encinitas to ensure that the new location will remain safe and secure. The Ninth Circuit Court determined in Desert Train versus City of Los Angeles in 2014 that a law that prohibited parking a vehicle as living quarters was unconstitutional. Please provide this safe parking lot. It's one strategy for addressing homelessness and the lack of affordable housing. Keep this humanitarian program going. Please. Thank you, Encinitas.
Next speaker is Kathy Stenger.
Hi, thank you, Mayor Blakespear and City Council members. I am a community member and 23-year resident of Saxony Road, and I am giving my full support and encouragement to approve the request to locate the safe parking program to the Encinitas Community and Senior Center lower lot. Throughout the time the program has existed at the Leashtag property, I have seen no evidence whatsoever of it. Any fear-mongering by a minority of residents demonizing the unhoused is unjustified. The program is carefully and effectively run by Jewish Family Services. Participants are screened, and measures to ensure the safety of both participants and residents have been successful, and I'm sure will continue at the new location. Fears involving nearby schools are unfounded. The lot will close in the morning long before students are walking to school, and rather than see the city caring for the unhoused as a threat to students, we should view it as a model of good civil governance and care for our most vulnerable community members. I recall volunteering in my child's class at Capri Elementary and helping a student who struggled to focus. The teacher let me know that the child was unhoused, and she kindly kept a stash of protein bars in her drawer to give her in the mornings to alleviate her hunger. I was naive and shocked that someone in our predominantly affluent district was facing homelessness. It opened my eyes to the hidden struggles of our neighbors. To give local Encinitas families like hers a safe place to sleep at night, as well as services to help move them into permanent housing, is precisely the kind of care our community should be providing, and I urge the City Council to approve this request. In addition, I was going to add that I urge the Board of Trustees of the SDU-HSD, but that meeting was yesterday, so I thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Adam Huey.
Hello, my name is Adam Huey, and I'd like to thank the council for allowing me to speak tonight. In listening to members of the community, it seems there's three main issues that tend to really bubble up. And the first is the mental health crisis facing everyone at this time or all around us. The next is the fact that our teachers are highly over-leveraged and our students are very much overstressed. And thirdly, the public safety during the pandemic that really affects seniors the most. And so starting with mental health issues, I'm not here tonight to say that we have a perfect answer for people in transition. My heart goes out to those folks. And what I think we all might agree on is that putting that population directly next to so many students and teachers is a little bit dangerous. And you look at the fact that empirical evidence proves that the human brain doesn't really fully evolve until the mid-30s. Well, as adults, when we see things that could be unsettling, we have a way of dealing with that. Children absolutely do not. And mental health experts also commonly refer to the fact that when they're treating patients, they can go back to one specific incident in a child's life when they experienced trauma that affected them for the rest of their lives. So if we can, protect our children potentially against seeing things they can't understand, that might be a good thing. Next, our teachers. I come from a family of teachers, and I know teachers are asked to wear a lot of hats, and adding this to their plate seems a bit unfair. They're already dealing with enough during the pandemic, and then asking them to be psychiatrists right now is quite a bit for them. They're not really equipped, nor do they probably want to have to explain these situations to children when they're already trying to do enough as it is. And finally, our senior citizens are at risk the most. And will the folks in this lot be 100% vaccinated and wear masks at all times? Because that should be a mandate, considering our students and teachers next door are masked up at all times to protect everybody. Let's protect our children, protect our teachers, protect our senior citizens, and find the proper place for people in transition to park at night. Thank you.
Next speaker is Karen Koblenz.
Mayor, City Council members, thank you for allowing me to just take a few moments. All these items have been talked and talked. JFS has proven that this is a successful product, a successful program, and the fear, the accusations have all been absolutely not credible. We've heard about Captain Taft, his requirements. All the data is totally upfront and documented. What I'd like to share is most of the people on this call were sitting on the call the same time that we sat for hours the first time and approved this program. And at the end of that night, very few of us went home and slept, because what we did do is we went to CRC and did the point in time count where we physically counted those that were homeless. We watched them, we talked to them, we interacted with them. And when I left there, I realized that for the first time with the proposal for the JFS parking lot, that maybe 1, 2, or maybe even 3 of those people that I interacted with might have a safe space to live, to raise their kids, to sleep, because of this program. I completely support this program. It's worth it. And that is what Encinitas is all about. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ruthie Bell.
Hi, I'm a student at SDI, and I'm commenting in support of JFS's Safe Parking Program relocation. My first reaction when I heard that it would be relocated to the Encinitas Community Center was, oh, that's close to Oakcrest and to SDA. Whether people are willing to acknowledge it or not, there is a significant population of unhoused citizens in Encinitas, and this is not a sign of weakness. I did my own research, and I found that the lot hours are not at all conflicting with either school. The guidelines of the Safe Parking Program clearly outline safety measures for any participant, and the program is truly helping community members, whether they are SUHSD and EUSD families or college students, or people simply at a difficult point in their life. I personally am able to admit that I had biases surrounding unhoused people, and the stigmas our society has created greatly contributed to this. So while the idea of this program being near a school was initially intimidating, I was able to research it and learn that these people are not on drugs, simply wandering the streets that our schools are on, as some would like to state. They are required to have a car and be drug and alcohol free and are truly just in need of support. The opposition to this is based in stigmas surrounding homeless populations and a not in my backyard mentality. Contrary to the blind eyes that are seemingly turned on this issue, there have been homeless people sleeping in their cars or in parks in Encinitas for quite a while. It is a question of having a secure, organized, and safe environment for unhoused people versus having them live in parks with less organized communal support. Because of the closeness to the school, this should hopefully force the conversation surrounding homelessness and how students and teachers can view the issue in a humanizing, kind light. This is a learning opportunity for students and seemingly for some adult members of the community as well in coming together as a community to support those in need. I believe empathy and compassion are seriously lacking surrounding this issue. This program is helping, not hurting, and not causing crime of any sort. To insinuate that because these people are unhoused, they will resort to criminal activity would be classist and simply deplorable. I ask that you allow the Safe Parking Program to relocate and continue supporting our fellow citizens regardless of location. Thank you.
Next speaker is Steve Gherkin.
Thank you, Kathy. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Hello, Council and Mayor. Thanks for hearing me again twice in one day. I've looked at the Safe Parking Program for a long time. Based on what the program manager and the Jewish Family Services says, it's a good program, meeting a need for services for a segment of the homeless in our county. But that's not the issue before us tonight. The issue before the council is why a location for a homeless shelter, as it's legally called, has been selected at a site that no resident was consulted about. Where's the due process and transparency we're so proud of? As Deputy Mayor Cran said, he's concerned about the location, and so am I. Since this budget is funded for the county, why is Encinitas still managing it? The county has the budget, staff, resources, property, and policies to address homelessness on a large scale. Why Encinitas? This is a county program. The location at Oak and Community Center, I asked the council, what metrics were used to locate a safe park program there? What are the sites that were evaluated? How did the sites rank? What was the final basis for selecting the proposed site? You can see this location is nothing like the first site. The current site is on a very secure private property that is controlled by locked guards with private gates at the gate 24/7. The community center is an open public site. We're comparing apples to oranges here. There are 5 public access points to the community center. Does the council know that one of them is the safe routes to school that goes directly through the parking lot? The route is from Ballure south of Encinitas Boulevard and goes directly through the safe parking lot program that we learned about 3 days ago. My child uses that route 5 to 8 times a week. That bothers me because I want to know who is going to be associating with my child on a daily basis. Who are they going to see? What are they going to see? What are they going to experience? That has not been discussed. Was that my warning?
That is your 2 minutes.
Okay, I'll sum up. So the bottom line is the concept is great for providing transitional facilities to North County residents in need. How and where that is done needs much more community input. I know this matter has not been fully vetted. As a resident of Encinitas, I think we deserve that. Thank you.
Next speaker is Nicole Granada.
I don't see her on here, but I'll
I
try
don't see her on there, but I don't know if it's one of the phone numbers.
Yeah, I'll try them.
As one of the phone numbers listed, Nicole Granada. Okay, then we will move to Chelsea Cott.
Thank you for holding this time to hear from the community. I'm the Director of Student Services for the Miracosta College San Alejo campus and member of the Miracosta College Care Team, supporting students who face crises related to basic needs. Miracosta College has long taken an evidence-based approach to assessing the needs of our community college students. Based on the holistic needs of our students and the demonstrated benefit of the JFS as a community partner, we proudly support the JFS Safe Parking Program in Encinitas. Our students have benefited from the Safe Parking Program. JFS well-established wraparound services, in addition to our care program, have served as necessary supports for our students who are without housing. This includes our students from Encinitas who are experiencing housing insecurity while trying to prioritize their academics and their safety. It is because of community partners like the JFS Safe Parking Lot program, coupled with our students' focused dedication to their education, that our students were able to remain enrolled in classes and seek to end the cycle of poverty and homelessness. What we know is that since the pandemic, our students' needs for programs like JFS Safe Lot has exponentially increased. Since 2021, our CARE program has received 86 requests for students for support with identifying and securing affordable housing, another 705 requests for support with rental assistance. These numbers are drastic. This is 705 college students who've had to choose between paying rent or getting gas or groceries, purchasing textbooks, accessing healthcare, paying for childcare, and so much more. Since January 2021, we have had over 5,970 students request financial support to meet their basic needs due to COVID-related challenges. And this number does not include students who separately sought financial aid or other scholarships. Needless to say, behind each of these 6,000 requests is a person with a powerful story, stories that speak volumes about resiliency and dedication of our students, as well as the need for programs like the JFS Safe Parking Lot. We proudly support the JFS parking lot, thank our community partners, thank the council, and thank the community members who are seeing this from the lens of equity and moving forward to try to support all of our community members. Thank you so much.
Next speaker is Judy Burlfine.
Hello, and thank you for letting me speak. I want to say, of course, I support the program. I'm really confused because we're all people, the people in the shelter and the people not in the shelter. But what I can see is there are two differences. Those of us on this call who live in Encinitas, who own or rent homes, are basically affluent, and those living in their cars are not. Those living at the safe parking program are vetted, but me and my neighbors, we are not vetted. So if I had to blindly decide who to hang out with, I'd probably go with the vetted folks. Unless you think that money determines if you're a good, trusted person. So I really want to thank you for moving forward on this. Yes, and I really, really want to hand it to the woman, I think her name was Jody, who bravely spoke at the beginning, putting a face on this program, letting us see that this could be our daughter, our mother, our sister, our brother, and whatever we can do for them. I am grateful. And people have commented, it's the wrong place, this and that. I love that Encinitas is being a leader. We need a safe parking program in Carlsbad, in Oceanside, in Vista, and San Marcos. It's not here or there. It's in all of those places. Housing is so expensive, and we need to support people who can't afford it. Thank you.
Next speaker is Helen Kwan. Followed by Mike Kwan.
Hi, this is Mike Quain, and Helen is sitting next to me here, so we're both on the same call. I don't think we'll need 4 minutes.
Okay.
We didn't prepare comments, but I do want to just highlight a couple things. One, we joined the call not to debate whether or not the JFS Safe Parking program is a good or bad program. That is not the topic of this meeting. The topic is the location of the program. So for all of you that I've heard tonight talk about the fact that you support the program, I would be curious to know if your support would be as strong if the program was to be located in your driveway, because that's what this topic is about, is where is the location? I have 3 points to make. The first is transparency. Now, admittedly, I'm new to this topic. I remember when it came about 18 months or so ago. You all should have a ton of data by now. And that data should be shared and easy to find. I Googled for over an hour today. I found about 6 data points. None of them, let me say this, all of them opaque. None of them clear as to why this should be such a great program and the benefits of it to a community that I care about as well as I'm sure all the rest of us do on this phone call. The second thing is when you're talking about relocation in a city, we should vet multiple sites and determine that the one that you're suggesting tonight is the best of those multiple sites. I've seen nothing on that topic. And by the way, I think someone made the point earlier, the current site is discrete and private, and the proposed site is as akin to a community center. In fact, I believe that's the name of the parking lot in the facility there. I don't think we want to have people be in a community center when the topic is about their recent and hopefully temporary homelessness. And that leads to my third point, and that's dignity. We should all think about that. If I was a homeless person, and maybe one day I will be, if I was a homeless person, I wouldn't want to be sending my kid off to Oakcrest School from the parking lot that's visible less than 100 or 200 yards away. We should all think about the fact that privacy is important when there's suffering going on. Thank you.
Since his timer has not gone off, I'd like to add
it did go off. Yeah, the 2 minutes is up. Did you want your 2 minutes, Helen?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
It's really more like 30 seconds. So what I'd like to say is this is a rather controversial topic in our community, and 2 minutes is certainly not enough to voice our concerns, nor are the 38 citizens voicing their concerns on this forum is enough to represent our lovely town. So I would like to request a town hall type meeting, as Mr. Krantz has suggested, that is well advertised so that many citizens can come and attend, whether it be virtual or not, so that we can all have our voices heard. Thank you.
Next speaker is James Stivan.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
All right, Mayor and members of the council. I'm Jim Stivan. I'm a longtime resident of Encinitas and a member of St. Andrew's Church, which is located on Ballure Drive, just about a block south of the proposed new parking site. I'm speaking in favor of this proposed new safe parking agreement with Jewish Family Services. Having said that, I do want to state that I agree with some of the criticism that has been leveled at the city for failing to better communicate its plans with the schools in the surrounding area. However, we should not confuse programs with process. While the process in some measure may have been flawed or incomplete, the validity and importance of the safe parking program must not be diminished. The safe parking program has served and will serve an essential need for persons who are temporarily homeless and by necessity living in their cars. It is not a choice any of us would want to have to make, but if it's the only viable option, at least there should be a safe place to park overnight. The JFS program at Leech Tag has worked well and safely for over 18 months. There is no reason that the program at the community center cannot work just as well and just as safely. The people needing to use the safe parking lot are the same people who might otherwise be our neighbors, but for their bad fortune. They are not bad people. The safe parking lot will be open to users of the facility only during the hours of 5:30 p.m. to 7 o'clock a.m. each day, and there will be security personnel on site from 6 p.m. to 7 in the morning. School hours at Oak Crest are from 8:15 in the morning to 2:45 in the afternoon each weekday. So there should be little interaction between the residents in the lot and the students. I support the program and urge the council to approve it, and then work with the schools and other neighbors to allay any concerns. Thank you.
Next speaker is Marie Dardarian. Marie, you need to unmute your microphone. Marie, if you can hear me, we can't hear you. You need to unmute your microphone. Okay, we will come back to Marie. Let's move to Stephanie Wheeler. Followed by Matt Wheeler.
Sorry, she's putting the kids to bed. So I live immediately adjacent. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. I live immediately adjacent to the current location of the homeless parking lot. And although I and neighbors have experienced a noticeable increase in crime, homeless folks roaming our neighborhood streets, and homeless people's cars in our neighborhood during the daytime while the lot's closed, it is not the primary driver for my opposition to the parking lot. I'm opposed to the lot because our city's entire approach to dealing with the quite obvious invisible increase in the homeless population is entirely flawed. The fact is, because of Martin v. Boise, we as a city cannot enforce anti-camping laws unless we can offer a shelter bed. The city declared a shelter crisis in 2018, but to my knowledge, you have not spent a single dollar ever on building an actual shelter for homeless people. We're spending tens of millions of dollars on streetscape and protected bike lanes and bollards that bicyclists don't want, but we haven't spent a single dollar of our own money on actually housing the homeless. How is that for compassion? The facts show that homeless people make rational decisions and migrate to the cities with the most permissive policy environment. A study Councilmember Hinsey herself cited in a council meeting last year shows that 30% of San Francisco's homeless population migrated to San Francisco after becoming homeless. In Seattle, it's 51%. I've personally met and spoke with homeless people who don't have cars in Encinitas who chose to come here on the train after hearing we are the new homeless-friendly town. Having this parking lot while not having a shelter and therefore not being able to enforce basic quality of life laws like overnight camping advertises to the homeless community that we are open for business. Come here, we'll take you. We have lots of charity partners that will feed and bathe you as well, and we'll let you take over Cottonwood Creek Park, Glen Park. We'll let you routinely defecate up and down the 101, disrupt our businesses, attack people on the streets. It's happened to me. Set fires, and we'll do absolutely nothing to stop you, all while neighboring communities like Carlsbad last night start passing laws to stop the flow of homeless in their town. The problems are only going to get worse. The crime statistics from Sandag and the FBI prove it. Maybe you're okay with this, but I'll finish up by saying that I'm actually a proponent of housing and helping the homeless. I believe it's a moral imperative and a quality of life requirement, but we can't do it the progressive West Coast way. We should look to cities like Houston who offer housing and combine it with a tough love approach while enforcing the law. Thank you.
Matt, is Stephanie going to speak?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yes, she is. I think she got one of her kids to bed. So
Okay, is she ready now?
yes.
Okay. So the next speaker is Stephanie Wheeler.
Can you unmute her? She's on a different computer. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. There we go. We'll promote her.
Hi, guys.
We can hear you.
Great. I just want to echo that it's a tough time of night for moms. I just tried to put a kid to bed in the middle of trying to speak to all of you. So there's a lot of families that are not being represented tonight. There's a lot of concerned moms and parents right now that can't get online right now, can't speak to you right now, need a lot more time to process what's going on, especially if the schools that their kids attend are going to be so severely affected. So I agree with Tony. I agree with Stephen Perkin, who spoke earlier. The community needs a lot more time to understand what's going on here, understand how you made your decisions about this lot. You've heard my husband and I talk on this plenty of times where we live next to where the lot is now. I'm against the lot being in Encinitas any longer. I think the county needs to step up, and I think you guys need to collaborate with a lot more people to create a just better process and a better solution here, because for 2 years we've watched an enclave of people from other places come to Encinitas and take advantage of our poor policies and policing of homeless related issues. You as a council can't handle it. There's hotels full of homeless people right now. The local nonprofits can't handle it, and us residents are just fed up and can't handle it either. And now you want to make it known that the one bit of services that we do offer are smack dab in the middle of a preschool, elementary school, and where vulnerable seniors spend the majority of their day. I think you should put this at City Hall if you put it anywhere where you guys spend the majority of your day. Because of the Martin versus Boise case, we should not be offering any homeless services here until there is a shelter for them to be offered. That way, if they refuse shelter, they can be sent to jail or dealt with in other ways. The homeless that are here can't apply for the lot services from the lot, and that's what we need to deal with first. No services until we get shelter beds, because we cannot continue to be a magnet. Carlsbad City Council voted last night to get tougher on homeless. It's just a matter of time before more people are headed here, because we give free handouts in the parks and all over town, and we're a magnet. Please focus on the issues here and now. Please stop making decisions that attract more homeless here. No services while we don't have shelters. No lot amongst our valuable children and seniors. Or vulnerable, children and seniors. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Becky Stumpfig.
Yes, Stumpfig, thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and City Council members, for hearing us all out. I'm speaking today to support the Safe Lot program. I think it's a wonderful program. However, I completely oppose the relocation to the senior center. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist with a private practice in the city of Encinitas. I have two boys, 10 and 12 years old. My 12-year-old attends Oakcrest as a 7th grader. I have serious concerns about the safety of this lot location. If you've seen the Oakcrest campus, it is completely open. There are no gates. There is nothing stopping anybody from walking onto campus. I did read the report about this wonderful program that said that there was less than 1% of individuals that had to be asked to leave for behavioral problems, which I think is great, and I'm sure reflects the majority of the people in the Safe Lot. But all it takes is one person to make an unstable, unsafe choice that would put our kids at risk. And somebody pointed out, an earlier speaker, that school at Oakcrest doesn't start until 8:15, which is true. However, the Learning Commons, which is the library at Oakcrest, actually opens at 7:15. So there's only a 15-minute window between when the Safe Lot would close and students would potentially be showing up. And those students use that area to study and get tutoring services. And I just want to say we're living in a world with an increase in school shootings. And as I see myself in my own line of work, an increase in mental health problems. And I think this is a great program. I want to see it continue. I want to see it in a different location though. And I would also like to see the school district be more included in the decision process. And I appreciated Mr. Kranz's suggestion that we go back to that point in the process and try again. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Molly Woodstrake.
Good evening. My name is Molly Woodstrake. I'm the president of Encinitas for Equality, a volunteer with Encinitas Philabelli, Humanity Showers, and Oceanside Homeless Resource Center. I'm speaking in full support of moving the Safe Parking Lot program to the community center. I know how important this program is to our seniors, our students, and our families, and how successful it has been with a high rate of supporting moving clients into long-term housing. There have been questions and concerns in prior meetings, as well as on social media, about the choice of the location and as to why this program is being moved from Leech Tag to the community center. Questions that allude to this program having been a negative experience for Leech Tag. And while I'm not privy to the exact reasons Leech Tag will no longer remain the parking lot, I will share that our Encinitas for Equality Center was being considered as a location during the work we already do to serve our unhoused neighbors and address inequities. There were a number of logistical issues, primarily that we don't own the space and that we hold events after 6:30 p.m. that led our multicultural center from being a less than ideal fit. Had logistics not been an issue, we would have welcomed our unhoused neighbors with open arms and hearts. With that said, one of my major concerns and struggles I imagine the city has had in finding a nonprofit to host the Safe Parking Lot program is not simply logistics, but also the way nonprofits and their leadership, specifically at Leech Tag and JFS, have been mistreated, harassed, and harmed by extremists in our community who offer zero solutions to this humanitarian issue. It is no secret that these extremists pride themselves on instilling fear and division in our community. So if our community members want to oppose something tonight, I hope that you oppose this bullying and fear mongering that harms our community, most of all, our unhoused. The greatest threat in our backyards of Encinitas is not our unhoused population, but rather our neighbors who attack the stewards of our most vulnerable. While I don't wish to see our city electeds attacked the way our nonprofit leaders have been, I applaud you for moving this program onto a city-owned property, a thoughtfully chosen city-owned property that will not interfere with other existing programs or school days. I commend our city for leading with compassion on an issue as complex and challenging as homelessness, and thank JFS and Leech Tag for being beacons of hope and light in our communities. We look forward to hearing ways how Encinitas for Equality can partner and support our safe parking lot neighbors. Thank you.
Next speaker is Tanya Tucker. Kieran, I don't see her listed. Can you see if she's one of the phone calls? Tanya Tucker, are you one of the phone numbers listed? Okay, we will move to Kim Piker.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak. I'm actually feeling good and feeling proud about how many people are in favor of this. I am also in favor of not only the parking lot, but also that it be moved to the location that's being recommended now. Just like Molly talked about, I'm assuming that some thought and process went into where this could go and what the council or whoever is responsible came up with was the senior center. I would like to give our children in schools a lot more credit in terms of what they have to learn. If there is a vetted, safe, homeless parking lot for people who have to live in their cars that happens to be perhaps within parentheses sight of them, and that it would be a wonderful opportunity for parents to teach our children those things. My daughter went to that school. And again, I would have, that would have been an opportunity if she had questions for me about population like that. I would have this in my parking lot if I could have it in my parking lot. I think logistically that wouldn't make sense. We had a homeless child living in our house when my kids were in junior high and high school. It was one of their friends, of course. I mean, there was a mattress on the floor. I'm not suggesting that everybody do that and would do that, but in terms of hearing comments about sort of throwing that kind of thing in our faces as if these would be such horrible things, they wouldn't be. I heard what Judy Burlfine said, and I echo her. I'm so happy that Jody Epson spoke, because when we say, yes, I'm in favor of this, but not here, you're saying I'm in favor of this, but these people are bad and we shouldn't have to look at them. They're not bad. They're vetted. They're not on drugs, and they're our neighbors. Thank you for letting me share.
Okay, let's try Marie Dardarian again. Marie, you need to unmute your microphone. Marie, we still can't hear you. You need to unmute your microphone.
Marie, it's down there by where you raised your hand.
Kathy?
There
Hi.
you are. There you go.
Oh, God. I'm so sorry. All right. So I am against the location of this homeless parking lot. I would like to refocus our discussion today as to why we are here. We are here only because the JFS wants to move their lot to the community center. My question is, why do they want to relocate it? Since they say it is so successful, successful, they should keep it where it is. The fact is that homeless shelters are not allowed within 1,000 feet of private or public schools. If JFS does not want the location they fought so hard for to get in 2020, then they must simply give up the grant money. It does not, that way it will not impact the community center, its neighborhood, the parkland around it. It does not impact the children in their schools. This council and prior councils have failed to realistically plan for the homeless population of the city. A population, as I recall, that some of you on council invited to the city. Instead, you are allocating over $60 million on streetscape, which many citizens feel is too grand in scope. Some of our taxpayers allocated for streetscape could have and should be used to help the homeless by this council. But it is not. It is just a further example of the fiscal irresponsibility of the past and present city councils of the city. I urge you to deny the JFS request, and I urge you to get the funding. You have plenty of tax dollars from the citizens of this city, and they're squandered on pet projects instead of something vital like taking care of our homeless. Thank you. And I hope we get back to in-person council meetings. This Zoom stuff has gone on long enough. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ruben Flores.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Let the record show that some of the city council members appear to be distracted on their cell phones or something else. I do not support the safe parking program relocation to the Encinitas Community Center. I have the utmost empathy towards anybody, including the first speaker who benefited from the program. Perhaps if the city didn't allow developers to buy affordable units in new developments, she could have a real chance of owning a home. The very first question, as the prior speaker indicated, is why is the program moving here? Why move it anywhere? If it's so successful, why change its location? It doesn't seem the program has been well thought out from the beginning to end. We're talking about the process to get to this decision. It is clear from the initial comments from Tony and Joy that there's room to provide clarity on how city staff came to this recommendation. I simply encourage Tony and Joy to be firm on your positions and request that the process is explored to allow transparency instead of allowing it to go forward with the excuse of staff recommendation. As with many other controversial projects during the watch of this council, public commentary seems to be stacked to support the move of the program. I wonder if the relocation of the safe parking program is related to the request from the mayor to move the state of the city address from the community center, where it's typically held, to Alila Maria. I congratulate my neighbor, Joshua Lazarson, for his eloquent commentary, which unfortunately does nothing to address the lack of transparency of the selection process. Unfortunately, the fact that Josh publicly states that he cannot understand how others would be opposed to this relocation also speaks to his inability to consider opposing views like this city council does. Thank you.
Next speaker is Bob Kent.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Bob Kent, Encinitas resident, a member of Keys for Homes. We support the continuation of the successful safe parking program via the proposed relocation to the Encinitas Community Center. It's essential that this program continue without lapsing. As we work to solve our housing affordability crisis, many lower income households are still without a strong financial footing and are living one paycheck one car repair, or medical emergency away from not being able to pay their rent. The COVID crisis has only exacerbated this situation, with people earning lower incomes hit the hardest, and the potential for future residential evictions may very well increase over the coming months once the eviction moratorium is ended. So now more than ever, having a safe, reliable, and dignified place to sleep at night is critically important for those individuals and families who are unfortunately living in their vehicles, many who are seniors, almost all who are experiencing homelessness for the first time, while many continue to work. We should not conflate the clients served by the Safe Parking Program with people who are unfortunately experiencing chronic homelessness. The Safe Parking Program is the last rung of homelessness prevention. During this program, JFS case management services have demonstrated success, helping 63% of the households find their own pathway back to more stable housing, with a primary and successful emphasis on the security and safety of both the clients and the surrounding neighborhood. Also, moving forward, I hope that the city, JFS, and the school district will have dialogue and open lines of communication to ensure continued success. Thank you to Leash-Tag Foundation and JFS, and thank you to the mayor and city council for your leadership in helping our unhoused individuals and families here in Encinitas. And thank you to Jody, the first speaker, for your courage and eloquence. Truly a profiling courage. Let's continue to do our part by helping others who are less fortunate. Please vote yes to continue the operation of the Safe Parking Program. Thank you.
Next speaker is Nancy Hardwick.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Nancy Hardwick, and our family has been longtime residents of Encinitas. Like our neighbors, we've watched the homeless situation in California reach a critical point. However, many of the people affected by homelessness in Encinitas are invisible. They're not drug addicts, nor alcoholics pandering on the streets. They're single mothers with children, students, veterans, seniors, and our neighbors who have lost their jobs. We applaud the City Council for stepping up and supporting the safe parking lot for neighbors who only have their cars as shelter. What a desperate situation for these people. As the agenda report shows, a safe parking lot has been operating under the auspices of Jewish Family Services on Saxony Road for more than a year, without any criminal incidences caused by the participants. The safety parameters that the city and Jewish Family Services have devised have kept the current safe parking lot secure and clean while providing support services. The goal of the program, as we know, is to transition the participants to permanent housing, and there's been documented successes over the years. Some Encinitas residents are concerned the new safe parking lot will be near the school, Oak Crest. We see this location as an excellent example of civic responsibility that children should be aware of, if they see the cars and participants at all, which would be very unlikely considering the school hours. Opponents of the safe parking lot should read the entire agenda report to better understand the goals of the program and how all safety concerns are addressed, and recognize the positive results of the support services and the relocation of participants to permanent housing. Thank you so much for your time and for supporting this program.
Next speaker is Jeff Stirk. Jeff, you need to unmute your microphone. We can't hear you. Jeff, if you can hear us, we can't hear you. You need to unmute your microphone. Okay, Karen, let's move to Jody White. We'll come back to Mr. Stirk.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you, City Council members, for providing me the opportunity to speak this evening. I've been a resident of the community for over a decade and have 3 children in the school district. Tonight, I am speaking in favor of the safe parking lot. As a mother of 3 in the district, I was alarmed to learn that there was an emergency meeting called during school hours by our district board to oppose the safe parking lot. All of my family members actively participate in community programs such as Humanity Showers, which assists our in-house neighbors, as well as Oceanside Homeless Resource Center. We do this because I want my children to have an awareness of their own privilege and recognize that not everyone's life is the same, but that everyone's life should be valued the same. Volunteering our time with these organizations creates opportunities to show compassion for others, which is what the safe parking lot is all about. The fear and divisiveness I heard from many of the SDU HSD board members about the parking lot was incredibly disappointing. We should be teaching our children compassion and care for others. I would welcome the school board to work with the middle school to potentially create a holiday drive with Jewish Family Services for the unhoused in the parking lot, or some sort of other engaging humanitarian program that would create unity. The fact that there's been no issues or criminal activity of the current safe parking lot not only continues to validate its effectiveness, but in truth, I wish it could hold more cars than 25, because we all know that there are many more that need it than that. One of the speakers tonight spoke about the potential trauma that this lot could bring to children at the middle school. Rather than fear outcomes such as those, we should be addressing the trauma that students are already experiencing on campus due to racism, homophobia, bullying, and sexual assault. Stop with the lip service and show up for what's actually happening to our students on campuses in this district. I hope that the council approves the safe parking lot and continues to make Encinitas residents proud to live here. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ana Reyes.
Hello, my name is Ana Reyes. I grew up in Encinitas. I attended Oakcrest Middle School, then San Diego Academy, and am now a master's level social worker. I work with seniors, I work with refugees, foster youth, and homeless families. I'll keep it simple. I'm speaking in support of the Safe Parking Lot program being moved to the Encinitas Community and Senior Center. I understand how folks, especially parents, can be alarmed about the program being placed near a school, but as many others have stated, these folks are vetted and there's been almost no incidences from the program participants themselves. This is city-owned property by a community center during hours that do not collide with school. Sounds pretty ideal to me. I want to remind folks that back in the day when the project was first being proposed for the leash tag property, literally one of the most tucked away areas of Encinitas, residents were still opposed. So whether this place is hidden, in plain sight, in heaven or in hell, folks will always have a problem with its location. I'll just leave it at that. I know various North County cities declined hosting the parking lot program. However, my town decided to step up and open its doors. I'm so proud that my hometown is standing as a forerunner in the North County area when it comes to seeking creative ways to support those who are houseless. Mayor and city council members, thank you for giving Encinitas the honor of actively engaging creative ways to give our houseless neighbors safety, peace, and dignity. Please continue to support this program by voting for the move to the community center. Thank you.
Next speaker is Carlos Lizraga.
All right. Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, perfect. Hello, good evening. My name is Carlos Lizaraga. I'm a father of 3 boys. I'm a nurse, resident here of Encinitas. I actually lived on Saxony when the program initially rolled out, and I live close to the new proposed location. And I have kids who will most likely be attending that school within the next 2 years. And for the record, I'd supported if the program were directly in my driveway or my backyard. Like with the initial rollout, people continue to equate the program participants to criminals and drug addicts, as stated by the first guest tonight. This is obviously causing a lot of insecurities and fear. I personally never feared the participants and personally did not see any increase in crime while I lived on Saxony. I don't expect this to change in the new location. I'm aware of the various participants, the diverse populations that seek the program, the diverse population that the program serves, and I fully support it. It's a critical piece to ensure that all those folks, all those neighbors, all these people facing challenges do not fall further into the cycle of poverty. This city isn't perfect, but I'm proud to be a resident of a place where both the city council and my neighbors support a program like this. That being said, I do hope that this is one of many initiatives that the city partakes in, as it will take a lot more than the parking lot to help solve the issue at hand. I'd like to take this opportunity not only to support the program, but also to challenge the city council and our neighbors to think ahead. I want to take this opportunity to challenge the city council and to begin questioning what will we do once the grant funding ends in 2022? What will we do aside from this initiative? I just think there's a lot more that we can do. I also want to challenge them to do more in terms of addressing the misconceptions and the stigmas, the lack of empathy, and the fear that lingers on 18 months after the launch of the program, as these will certainly surface every time a similar initiative is brought before us. So thank you.
Next speaker is Paul Trouse.
Hi, my name is Paul Trouse, and I would like to just make a couple of quick points. First, we have to recognize that the only thing that people who are homeless have in common is that they are homeless. There are a tremendous variety of people who are homeless with different reasons for most of them. And we must design programs that are aimed at each and every type of person who is homeless. This program will not bring in those people who, for whatever reason, may pose a risk to others. Folks will be carefully screened. Second, we must recognize that the perfect site does not exist. No matter which site you choose, you will excite opposition. Each site will have pluses and minuses. I live within a half a mile of the proposed site, and it is fine with me and my family, including a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, and 9-year-old grandchild. I just urge you to approve this program and others aimed at helping our neighbors. Thank you.
Next speaker is Kelly Perez.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Hi, I am a fourth generation Encinitas community member, which is pretty rare. I think also like our mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I appreciate it. I am, like I said, we have, my family's had a business here for 89 years, a printing business, and I am now the director of Bethlehem Community Preschool, which is a preschool right up the street from the proposed safe parking program. And I will say I am in support of anyone who is in need and provide no judgment. My husband is a vet, and we have struggled through COVID ourselves, my family. So that is not an issue for me at all. Although I am also responsible for 108 families, their children, as I am the director of the preschool, and their safety. So I have struggled with the homeless population in our area, and providing the balance between empathy for that, of course, as I said, and also the safety of our children. So I am not in any way, again, providing judgment for any of the families that are in this program. In fact, I am in support of it because I also have 2 children, one that attends Oakcrest Middle School and one at Oceanal Elementary. And I would like to provide for them the opportunity to witness the compassion of this program. But that also being said, I do not feel that the communication has been provided for schools. And I feel that I need to sum up because I know I heard the bell, but I do feel there's been a lack of transparency with this communication for this program. And I feel that it should be postponed, kind of like
Kelly, I'm sorry, but that is your 2 minutes.
Yes. So I feel like it should be postponed to a later date to vote.
Next speaker is Max Perez.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Just to keep it short and sweet, there's lots of views, obviously, coming from all sides. But kind of like you just heard from my wife, I think there wasn't enough transparency in. Oh, not sure you're hearing me. Are you there? Hello?
You are cutting out.
I'll try to speak. I'm in agreement with what Tony said early at the beginning, which it seems a little premature the way the information was brought forth, you know, for us to determine if it's a great decision, the location. That's what we are talking about, is the location. I think that needs to be, looked at a little bit more clearly. I think the distance to public school, my son went and looked it up because he actually goes to the school, is less than 300 feet or 380 feet. And I'm sure these people are great people. I'm sure they are struggling. And I'll be honest with you, sir, we were in an apartment, a very small apartment, and it's very expensive to live in this town. I get the struggles that we're all suffering in this town. Some of us aren't suffering in this town. But my concern is the location. So, how this program is brought forth to a vote without transparency where the school's involvement was considered. That's my take on it. There's, like I said, there's views both sides. I'm more concerned with, again, the kids, the children, their views, the proximity of the kids, and the safety issues. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker is Gigi Miller. And Karen, I don't see her listed. Can you check the phone numbers aren't there anymore either, are they? Okay, so I do not see Gigi Miller. Next speaker is Tara Nelson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, I'm Tara, and I'm a 5th generation of Encinitas. I, like other people have stated before, I have immense empathy for the homeless population and the things that people are going through. However, I am a teacher about 2 blocks south of where the proposed site would be. And I am a teacher of 5-year-olds, and their safety is definitely my number one concern. And although I don't think that, from what it sounds like, what I'm hearing tonight, that the people that would be staying at this proposed site would necessarily, you know, they're vetted and there's a lot of rules for them, but I do think that it invites another type of population towards the schools. And like I said, the safety of these children is my number one concern. I recently had to call the sheriff's department when I found a homeless person smoking an illegal drug, not marijuana, something else, on my patio of my classroom. And you can imagine that that is not something that we want to have happen. Our school is locked and secured, but this person found a way to get back onto my patio. And I called the sheriff's department and they let me know that there was basically nothing they could do. So for me, that causes a great deal of alarm. I agree with what the Wheelers and Kwans and Perez families have said. I think we all have empathy for the situations that these type of people are in, but I think the proposed site should not be located near so many children. I also feel that as a fifth generation, I know a lot of residents in North County, and majority of people I know knew nothing about this, issue, this proposal.
Eric, that is your 2 minutes.
And I feel that we should be given more time to speak on this, and a lot more people should be given a vote, especially those of us that were raised here and have families here and work in the community. Thanks.
And then let's go back and try Jeff Stirk. Jeff?
Okay, you can hear me this time.
I can hear you now, yes.
Sorry for the mix-up. Good evening, Mayor and council members. It's been a very informative evening for me. I very much support the program, but I question why it would be moved from the leach tag property. Again, I agree with the lack of transparency in vetting sites. I don't believe the community center is the right property. I think the leach tag property is probably ideal for it. The one gentleman made the statement about the residue of homeless who migrate to the site. That's obviously of grave concern for the community center. Bloor and Encinitas Boulevard is one of the busiest early morning intersections in our city. I drive it every morning, picking up my grandkids who are in very close proximity. There's long lines of cars with parents dropping off their kids at Oakcrest and St. John's on a daily basis. In fact, last week I witnessed a girl riding an electric bike, was bumped by a car. She fell, but fortunately she was not seriously injured. If there's any kind of migration of other homeless people with all these kids buzzing around on their electric bikes to school, I think it's just a setup for injuries. In fact, now there's an Oakcrest administrator who's out directing traffic every morning. And I also think it'd be incredibly irresponsible to even consider the site without having first met with the San Diego Union High School District. I think it's irresponsible to our children, their safety, and our educators, to not have their support. But again, I just feel like it's the wrong site. We need transparency. We need to vet the other sites. And I think every effort should be made to keep it at its current location. Thank you.
Mayor, that does conclude public speakers on this item.
Okay. Well, thank you very much to the public speakers and the wide variety of comments we've received tonight. I will call on my colleagues first. So Councilmember Hinsey.
Thank you. I'll just pick up by addressing the last speaker's concern. When we went into this discussion the first time in 2019, there were sort of two things that were the major considerations. It was, will this project be effective? Will it be safe? And then the second one was, where is the right location? And from the time that we agreed to put it in place at Leach Tag, we knew that we were eventually going to be in the position of having to find a second location. So our city staff, two of whom are on the call tonight, have expended significant energy in finding another place in our city. And the fact of the matter is that this is the only place in our city that has everything that we're looking for, and that the city will be responsible for the land. This is public land. It is adjacent to uses where we already serve senior citizens and community members who are underserved. It's in close proximity to the Boys and Girls Club that also has a similar mission. And yes, we do have close proximity to Oak Crest Middle School. Councilmember Mosca and I, we serve on the school district liaison committee. And it was unfortunate that in this cycle, we meet every other month, that our last meeting in the mid-August, we hadn't yet determined that this was going to be the site. And so it was unfortunate that we didn't get the opportunity to talk about this location at that time with the administrators who are new and board members who are new. At the time that we did decide on the site at Leech Tag, we had the support of our school district partners. Encinitas Union School District did in fact write a letter of support. They too had an adjacent land use. The YMCA, they also wrote a letter or provided somebody as a representative to speak in support of the program. They too were nearby. And then Miracosta as well, who's a part of that school district liaison committee, they too recognize the value of this program, and we're here again tonight to reiterate their support for it. So what I feel is that we have exhausted the opportunities for another site, and by delaying this vote tonight, we're not going to come up with a better site. And while it's unfortunate that some of the members of San Diego Union High School District felt that this wasn't a transparent process, in fact, we gave more notice to those within a 500-foot radius than we did last time, because we sent a physical letter to everybody around to provide the information about who to contact exactly. And I'm grateful that 2 of the board members from San Diego reached out to me, and I personally got to speak to them and support this program. And that also the superintendent was able to speak with Jennifer and provide information as well. And so I think that there's a little bit of personal responsibility in this, and that there's some education required, and all the resources are there, and they're all provided. And our staff has gone to great lengths to host public forums the last time that we did this. So, you know, reflecting on my own personal experience, I too was a student at San Diego Union High School District. I went to both Degano and then I went to San Diego. And some of the most transformative, meaningful experiences of my time there were field trips to the Community Resource Center and working for the food bank during the holiday season and coming face to face with folks who were going to be eating that food later on because they had no other option. So I don't think that there's the option here to, one, hide students from the reality of what so many people are facing, and 2, there's 33 students in the San Diego Union High School District who are currently experiencing homelessness who would be eligible to take part in this program. And I do hope that we coordinate with the school district following this vote tonight, no matter what happens, to assure that those students are aware that this program exists, that they could walk there to school, that if they have family members who could take advantage, that they will be able to as well. And later on, as an adult, I learned that some of my classmates at the time that I was at San Diego Union High School District, they too had experienced homelessness while being residents of Encinitas. And for Jody Epstein, who kicked off our public comment today, to have the courage to come forward and say that she's a participant, I mean, that takes so much courage, because this is a class of humans who are so stigmatized. So, you know, I hear those who have fears that this program is going to attract more homelessness to our city, but we already have the proof of concept. We already know that that's not the case. As many speakers said tonight, we have not seen an increase in crime. And so I'm very interested tonight in seeing us move forward with placement of this safe parking here at this location. And I know my colleagues have their hands up, so I'll wait to make a motion until we hear from them.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Lyons.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to thank all the speakers tonight, and also our staff and the JFS for being so articulate. You know, this was an opportunity tonight for a lot of people to listen and to learn. You know, it's evolved over time, this relationship we have with JFS and this program. And I think the more we have dialogue on it, the better it gets. And I'm happy to see that I feel like people understand the program. And I'm very happy to see how much support there is for it. I also support the program, but I'm not I don't feel like this site is our best site. And I appreciate what Councilmember Hinsey was saying, but I want to touch back on what our public speaker, Carlos Lizarraga, said. And that is, let's look at the long haul here. Let's think ahead. And I say that because there's something that no one brought up that struck me right away, and that is what the existing program at the Leech Tag campus has the ability to be an area where there's not a lot of people milling around. It's in the middle of a campus. That's perfect. And it has a buffer around it. And the people in the program, I believe, feel that it's a sanctuary. It's amazing in that it provides that opportunity for people to have a feeling of dignity and have a feeling of they have found a sanctuary for the night. Because of the community center and the programs we have at the community center, the fact that it operates until 9 o'clock at night, our program, the safe parking program, starts at 6. So there'll be a 3-hour period where people are coming to the community center, they're in their cars, they're parking right next to the program, they're talking, they're slamming doors. It's going to be an active place. And I know that because I go there a lot, and I go there a lot in the evening for lectures. Now, we haven't been doing that over the last year or so because of COVID, but we're going to get back to doing that. And I know we have programs there that are special events on the weekends, and I know we'll want to get back to having those special events. So I think about the design of spaces, and I think about how people use the spaces, and will there be conflicts between just the sanctuary objective of the safe parking program and the activity level of the community senior center. And it strikes me as a location where there's conflicts. I also feel like this program would do best in an area that's low profile, not an area where there's a lot of eyes on it, a lot of high profile. And because of those reasons, it struck me right away that there are too many conflicts at this location to make this a successful permanent move. I would really like this choice of where we relocate this program to be able to be a permanent relocation. And I know it depends on whether the program has funding in future years, but hopefully this decision will align us with being able to have the program in one location that is successful and can be permanent if the program gets funding. And given that, I just, I've reached out to folks, I've gotten some input about other possible city-owned locations. I don't know that anyone's contacted the Encinitas Ranch Golf Course. I understand it's city-owned, and I understand there's parking that is underutilized. I think we've got an opportunity not only to get some additional public comment from community members, but also to bring our partners that have been mentioned throughout the community that are like-minded, like Miracosta College, to the table and maybe do a facilitated panel where we talk about really what the missions and objectives are. And I'm recommending this because you don't know what you don't know. Now, I haven't been at the table to understand all the dialogue we've had with our partners and with, internally in the city to choose this location. But the little bit that I've looked into it, I feel as though there are some opportunities that are worthy of some more time to consider. And I just want to kind of sharpen the pencil a little bit to say, I think our like-minded partners in this community, like Miracosta College, like Scripps, perhaps because they serve and care for the homeless as well. We get them all around the table, we all put our minds together, and it could be amazing what we come up with. So I will just conclude by saying I want this program to succeed, and I don't think that this is the right location.
Thank you. Councilmember Mosca.
I think Deputy Mayor Kranz had his hand up, and so I'll defer to him, but I'll go first if it's.
I'm not sure which of you. Yeah.
All right.
Whichever.
Perfect. I want to be fair. Just want to just take a few moments to thank some of the folks that have participated today. First and foremost, the public for all the comments that they've given today and via email. It's one of the things that the fact is that we don't always agree on every item, but I think it's great that we all care so much about our community and we're so passionate about Encinitas. And so that's really something that's special and something that binds us together. So thank you to all the members of the public for commenting and for taking time out of their busy day. We heard some people putting their kids to sleep and making dinner. So thank you for participating in this meeting. Also want to take an opportunity to thank Leach Tag Foundation. They stepped up in a big way a couple of years ago when we most needed it. And they took a lot of heat and this program worked out. And so I just want to thank Leach Tag Foundation. We knew it was a temporary location. We knew that it wasn't going to go on forever. But I do think that they gave a helping hand, lived into their mission, and lived into what they've done in our community forever, which has really just been a great neighbor. So thank you to the Leach Tag Foundation. And thank you to the Jewish Family Service of San Diego for not only applying for this grant funding several times, but receiving it, managing this parking facility, managing other parking facilities, which obviously has proven to be a huge success and really help people, move from potentially being unhoused to housed. And so not only are we thankful to you, but those folks that you've helped are really thankful and grateful for your services as well. So thank you. I did make some notes over the last hour that we've been listening to public comment. So I apologize if I'm going to just look at some of my notes and let you know just a little bit more about how I feel about this issue, because it is really significant and important. It struck me that, for the second week in a row, we're dealing with some significant issues, significant challenges. Last week, we dealt with climate change, which I've talked about as the challenge of our lifetime, which I still honestly believe it is the challenge of our lifetime. But next to climate change and affordable housing, homelessness is such a huge issue. And just a ginormous issue that hasn't been gotten enough attention over the last years. It's a difficult challenge, and I think it's become only more acute and difficult as the years go by, because without implementing real and durable solutions, it just continues to persist. So I think it's important to be clear from the beginning what the problem is. And that is the number of unhoused and food insecure residents that has grown tremendously over the last several years, especially during the pandemic, as we've witnessed an economic recession, unlike what we've witnessed in many years. Not only do we have a moral responsibility to help those who have fallen on difficult times, economic times, but there's also a clear diminishment of our high quality of life in Encinitas if we do nothing and we allow more of our residents to fall behind and more of our residents to become unhoused on our streets. So our goal needs to be to help those who are unhoused on our streets or becoming unhoused because of a series of unfortunate economic circumstances. We need to give them a hand up that they need at this time. Their community needs to give them a hand up at this time. With this safe parking program, we have a real data-proven solution that is working. We have Jewish Family Service of San Diego, a group that is experienced at running these programs and helping people, not only in the moment, right, but permanently helping people. We heard some of the data earlier, permanently helping people to become housed and to live with dignity so that they're not actually living unhoused on our streets. And so this has become a solution. Of course, the safe parking program, as has been said, will not help everybody who has experienced experiencing being unhoused. Some of our residents, still there are other issues that we need to address. It's not meant to actually be a silver bullet and address every single thing. It's focused on those who have just fallen on hard economic times. It is to catch people before they go down the awful spiral of being unhoused on our streets and all that is associated with that. It's a safe parking program with with social workers that will help people get on their feet and live with dignity. And one other thing that I noted too is that I want to be very sensitive to what people are saying in terms of this spot not being the right spot. And as my council colleague Kelly Hinsey said, we've been looking at different spots for a while. We knew this was temporary, and we tasked our staff months and months ago to look at many other spots. And so they've been looking at many spots, and this one appears to be one of the most viable and best fits that we have. And we've, I've asked the staff that as we move forward, that this agreement that we have with JFS have the same standards and procedures and operations that we had in the last one to ensure that everyone is safe, that the folks that are participating in the program and people that live in the area and everybody is safe, because that's got to be our top priority. So we will be closely monitoring monitoring this program and also reporting on all the various measures and factors that we'll be looking at to make sure that it is in fact a success, and a success at this particular location. I also think that it's important to note that as some speakers have said, that there's more than just folks that have recently become homeless. There are a lot of other folks that have found their way to our streets, are unhoused and are chronically unhoused and suffering from mental illness and other issues. And so we need to do more than just the safe parking program. We need to look at make sure that we're implementing, activating our homelessness action plan, a plan that we basically spent some time talking about and putting together with professionals. And so I look forward to continuing this discussion. I think that this is really a solution for, a specific group of folks that are just about, essentially finding their way to our street and being unhoused. And so I think this is shown to be an effective solution in the past. And so I think it's going to be effective for us in the future and really help us out in a big way. So I'm going to support this program and hope that we continue this conversation and try to help others that are unhoused in our streets.
Thank you, Councilmember. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Very impressive group of speakers tonight. And I would call it a who's who of people who are out in our community making a significant difference for those less fortunate than each of us. And my undying gratitude to all of you for the efforts that you make. And like you, I am a big believer in this program. But as Mr. Stivan said, there are clearly some issues related to the process that we've gone through. And to hear my colleagues talk about staff work in finding another location that didn't include conversations with the school district when we share a driveway with the school district for our community center, to me, that's a flaw that I think we would be wrong to push forward without addressing that first. And so while I can see making the effort to do the outreach with the school district in order to address any of their concerns, it's possible that by the time we were done, we wouldn't be able to address them all, but yet this program might end up being at our community center anyhow. But this notion of the steamrolling of the school district is one that bothers me quite a bit. And I accept responsibility for not recognizing that it would have been better to engage them on a staff level long before we got to this point, so that it wouldn't require a school district liaison committee to break the news to them, that that there would have been that conversation. One of my favorite writers, Jack London, wrote an essay about how he became a socialist, and he makes reference to the submerged tenth, the folks that are down at the bottom of the social pit. And I think that it's really important that as a city council, we do as much as we can to help the people that have ended up at the bottom of the social pit. And so I'm very proud of the homeless action plan that we've adopted. I'm very proud of the programs that we've implemented, the McAllister Institute contract that we have, the work with this county Health and Human Services Agency, their support, Christians being hired. I think those are all really important things that the city council has done. And I think that what we're doing here is we're not, our notice for this, in fact, identified the entire lot of the community center. It was a notice that is consistent with development projects, but I don't think it was sensitive to the fact that we were dealing with a homeless shelter that we were, preparing to implement. So again, this is a process issue that we could fix. And, while I really believe in the program and want to support it, these process issues are flawed, and my hope is that as a council, we would step back and address them. And when the school district called a special meeting for Monday and had this, a resolution on the agenda to oppose this location, I did reach out to the Leach Tag Foundation, and they recognize that engaging the school district is an important step. And so they don't have any, it's not like there's going to be a break in the program if we take a pause on approving this location while we do as Councilmember Lyons suggests, which is to make sure that we're moving this program to a place that will be the last place it has to move, so that in the event JFS continues to receive grant funding, we can continue to operate this at that location. So, with regard to some of the fears that were expressed today about this being a magnet and such, I recognize that people come to their opinion about this particular subject in their own personal ways. I don't have the fear, and I would say anecdotally, I have seen that Carlsbad and Oceanside have a significantly greater problem with homelessness than we do here in Encinitas. So in the end, I think that the idea that this has been a magnet isn't correct, but regardless, the people that are participating in the program do not present an increased safety risk, and therefore I am very supportive of the program. But ultimately, I have problems with the process. It's ironic because that was what happened the first time we came to make this decision. And so I hate to be in the position where I feel that the process is flawed, that I can't support moving forward to this location, but that's where I'm at.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to weigh in here now. So I have a number of thoughts I'd like to share. So first, I want to start by also thanking all the public speakers. There are a number of people who really spoke a truth that speaks to my heart and that I recognize as the way that I see humanity and the city and the world, and my desire to link arms with other humans and help each other out and provide that bottom when the bottom seems to be falling out. And so to me, this program is that program. It is something that, as to summarize in using a phrase that one of the speakers used, was that it's done good and it's harmed no one. And I believe that that's true. It is done good and it's harmed no one. And so I very much support us continuing it and also us moving it to the Senior and Community Center. And I'll explain why in a little bit, but I just want to say that I really applaud, as has been noted a couple times, the fortitude that Jody had to call in as our very first speaker and say, I am staying in this parking lot. And there's so much stigma and shame associated with saying that you are unhoused. And I just appreciate how she faced that with just a completely clear voice and clear head and her own background, and explained that she has tried to find housing, posting on Nextdoor and other places, and hasn't been able to find a roommate or an ability to find a place in the city. And if you recall, one of the things she also said was that she gave the human face of what it is to live in a car next to someone else in a car, saying that there was a student who needed a light or who could benefit from her headlight. And she said, hey, why don't you use my headlight to study at night in the dark in your car? And you just think about those human connections and the way we help each other and that community that's created by the people who are staying in the parking lot. And I think, if you go and do a tour, which I encourage the school board members to do and the administration of the school board, and anybody else who wants to reach out to Jewish Family Service and take a tour and really experience what this is like for the people who are staying there and what it looks like. It's very small, 25 spots, but Jewish Family Service is very open to allowing people to see this. And so I really want to encourage that. So I personally believe that there is not a better spot in the city of Encinitas for this. And one of the reasons for that is, and this has not been mentioned tonight, or it has not been mentioned in depth, it's been referred to, but the Senior and Community Center is designed to help seniors and our community. And if you even look at the mission statement of what our Senior and Community Center is doing and what it is doing in reality, it's providing, for example, seniors who are needing a little bit of help, like, for example, with our senior nutrition lunch program. So that provides lunches for people. And if, I have gone and toured this and seen people who need lunch and don't otherwise have access to lunch. And we say on our website that nobody will be turned away because of an inability to pay. And so, this is something that's happening at our senior center. And when COVID hit, we started providing those packaged lunches outside and people could drive in and get the lunch because that might be the only meal that they were able to have that day. We also at our Senior and Community Center have a cooling zone for people who otherwise are not able to cool down in really hot weather. They can come to the Senior and Community Center to cool. We also provide transportation programs for people who do not have the ability to transport themselves where they need to go. They can access transportation programs. So having, as part of our Senior and Community Center, in this very large parking lot that we have, 25 spots that are, remember who this serves. The Safe Parking Program serves almost 50% seniors. So almost 50% are over age 60. There's a natural alignment of mission between what this program is and what we're doing at our Senior and Community Center. And I think we can focus on the kids programs and the camps and all the other things, the events, the lectures that my council colleagues go to, all those kinds of things too. But what's happening at this center is serving all parts of our community, including people who need a little bit of extra assistance, which I think is what this program, the Safe Parking Program, is providing. I also think it's important to just recognize that we have done a lot of work with community partners trying to figure out to have a homeless action plan, to talk to Scripps, to talk to Maricosta, to talk to our faith community. We have done, and I have personally done, and there's been done by others and consultants, a lot of outreach. And the question of what services do we provide in this city? Like, what does the CRC provide? What does Jewish Family Service provide? What does Scripps provide? Could they provide more? Could there be a sobering center? Could there be a mental health beds? These are the kinds of things where the agency, the entity itself, needs to want to do it. And so what we're faced with here as a city right now tonight is, what do we want to say yes to? Because Scripps and Maricosta and the faith communities, for all the many reasons that are so valid, are not the ones who are standing here tonight with the ability to provide for people in our city who need a place to have a safe parking. So, I really think it's important to remember that if these other partners, if the Encinitas Ranch Golf Course wanted to come forward and host a safe parking program, or any other program, or anybody wanted to open a shelter in our city, we, as part of our housing element update, have to designate a place in our city to have a homeless shelter. So that any of these social service providers, nonprofits, faith community partners who are already existing could be proposing these things, but they're not, right? And the county, could it be doing it on the burn site that's a toxic waste dump, which would have a 25-year timeline and cost millions of dollars? Yes. Are all of these things conversations and things that are happening and possibly will be future realities that are actualized by future people? Yes.
But for us tonight, the question is, do we want to provide a way for this safe parking program to continue in our city at the site that our city staff has done an extensive evaluation of all possible places and has said this is the one we recommend. And let's remember that this is done in consultation with Jewish Family Service, who knows what it takes to run a successful program. They have multiple of these in the city of San Diego, and they have also had conversations with the faith community and with the operators of other potential sites and toured them. So, we could be talking about putting this at the Pacific View School site. And we could be talking about putting it at the Public Works Yard that starts operating in the dead of night, in that very, very early morning when people are still sleeping in their cars, when there's industrial noises, all the things that happen at these various other places. And I think we talk about our city, all these different city properties, which are not very many in the first place. And we think about our city money and what we wanted, and not our city money, the taxpayers' money that we would be making decisions about when we are having discussions about affordable housing projects or Leucadia Streetscape or activating Pacific View. This is a project that we as a general fund are not funding. If this is coming from the state grant to Jewish Family Service, who is saying we can operate this in your city if some site will say yes to it. We were so grateful for the incredible generosity of the Leach Tag Foundation that said yes to it under tremendous heat. And this was February 2020. So this was a year and a half plus ago. And as was mentioned by one of the public commenters, it was the night before the point in time count. I got home, and I'm sure the council members did as well, after midnight from the hours of public testimony and the wrenching difficulty of this decision. But saying yes to this program a year and a half ago has allowed us to be doing something real in our city that we were not doing before. And to me, this program, moving it to the Senior Community Center, is us saying we have skin in the game. We believe in this. We're linking it up with our Senior and Community Center, which is a place that's already providing social services. And we're not just saying this is somebody else's problem. A different agency should handle this, a different level of government, a different city. Somehow this problem should go away. And I hope that other cities have the courage and have the vision and have the commitment and have the compassion that we are showing when we say yes to this in Encinitas. Because at the end of the day, every city, every community has a portion of them that is not able to find housing, that is unsheltered. And what is it that we do for them? Do we say yes to something like this, which in my opinion is, and as has been said, is homeless prevention, because these are first-time homeless who still have a car. They are not yet living on our streets. And if we are really serious about wanting to say that we care about people, we have to say yes to things. And so I don't feel that delaying this to have more discussion is the right move. I think that this is the right site that was located and evaluated by Jewish Family Service and by our professional staff, which we as policymakers tasked our staff to do. We didn't say, let's go out and redo the entirety of our homeless action plan. We didn't say, let's have a popularity contest about which community wants it less. What we said was, let's staff work together with Jewish Family Service to see if there's a place where this could move in our city. And that it's been many months and a lot of outreach, and they have done that comprehensively, and they've come back with this recommendation. And to me, it makes a lot of sense. And I would urge my colleagues to vote yes on it tonight. I think that it does show our commitment. It shows that we want this as something that is part of our city's fabric. So I recognize that there's a perception that has been repeated that the process is flawed or incomplete. And I do not believe that's true. I believe we gave direction to our staff. They have done that. We sent out letters to within 500 feet, which was more than was required. And we are having a public meeting about it. And we have stated multiple times that we wanted to find a place for this to be in our city. So we're having that meeting today. We're able to have the discussion. I don't feel that there's a benefit to delaying this to a future day. So let me just look at my notes as I was taking when people were speaking to make sure that I've covered everything. I think it's important to just recognize the biggest point, which is these people are not dangerous. So the idea that they're less dangerous than the general population because they're all so pre-screened. I mean, as Judy Burrowfine said, she said, you don't get to choose your neighbors. But these people like have all been pre-screened and they can't be addicted. They can't be on Megan's list. They can't be, there are no drugs or alcohol. They have to be working toward housing. 92% first-time homeless. So, you know, to me, going back to recognizing that people have real fear, but this idea that it shouldn't be near a middle school or near a preschool, like to me, they're not dangerous. So that's like an irrelevant statement. And also I'll note that this is across the street from a fire station. So if there are medical problems or any problems, that, you know, this is the firefighters are right there. And then of course the senior community center is right there. So I'm going to make a motion. I know others have said they wanted to too, but I see other hands going up, and I do want to move this along. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve this project tonight and we move forward with the staff recommendation.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second, and now I'll go to Councilmember Lyons.
Thank you, Mayor Blakespear. I appreciate your insights. I do want to make sure that I haven't been misunderstood. I support this program. I want to find a long-term permanent location that's successful. I'm worried that this choice is too active of an area for the participants in the program to achieve the level of sanctuary and dignity that the program succeeds with. And so I want to make sure that that perspective is clear, because I'm worried enough about it that I fear that this location would be why the program doesn't succeed here. Now, I know I'm not in the majority here. I do know that we're the ones with the time frame here. We've set the November 30th time frame so that we could choose to extend the time frame with the permission of Leach Tag, of course. I am actually quite interested in continuing the dialogue, because I don't feel like I've heard from our partners in the community. I don't feel like I know what I suspect, and I know we haven't considered all the properties. So I just feel like there's more opportunity to have dialogue, and I'm willing to continue that dialogue if there's any merit to it. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, and I would just say there are two really important things here. One is that the program will continue. Leach Tag is not prepared to kick the program off their campus, and we do have time. So there is absolutely no requirement to make this decision tonight. And number two, like I said, the school district, we share a driveway. It's their road, and we have our community center on a property adjacent to them, and that we didn't even engage them. So essentially, if we're moving forward tonight, the resolution that they passed on Monday is accurate. The city did not communicate effectively with the school district, and nor did we communicate effectively with St. John's School, which operates a K-8 school just to the west of this. So again, I just think that for the purposes of outreach to the community, maybe gaining some clarity about why this is the location, all the other city parcels were ruled out. I appreciate everything that you point out about the community center's mission, and I frankly could see approving this parking lot at that facility. But again, the process has been flawed, and I really think that it's important that we have the opportunity, that we provide the community with the opportunity, and especially the school district with the opportunity to get a better understanding of the program. And the public notice that came out a week before the staff report, which identified this site and no others, it just to me is not the way that we should be doing this.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hensy.
Thank you. Yeah, I do want to respond to that question of the school district, because for a moment I thought while I was listening to that meeting, it would be advantageous for us to collaborate with them because they too have places in our city that they hold as public land. But as I ran through those parcels that they own, they have the same problems that we do. So, their headquarters also have night meetings. Their facilities yard also has heavy equipment. And there was a moment at the end of their meeting where they had the opportunity to either ask us to delay so that we could work together and come up with a different location, or to pass a resolution that is opposing this location. And that was an important subtlety to me because it means that we could extend the process, go through more negotiations, only to get to the same place we are now, that they continue to oppose any activation of this parking lot for this purpose. And so I don't really see a different outcome working longer on that. What I do see as a possible collaboration with the school district is that I would love to have a crossing guard here at this driveway. And I know that my colleague, Councilmember Mosca, and I, we ask every time, let's co-fund another crossing guard pilot here with the school district. We'd love to do that. And so I really hope this leads us to another opportunity to provide more increased safety for all the families and all the students who are needing to access multiple destinations here on this driveway now. And the last thing that I want to say is that I really think it's important for us to acknowledge the sacrifice and the courageous compassion that Leach Tag has shown for extending this agreement time and again. They agreed to a certain amount of time and they've been willing to extend it month after month because of the crisis that we're in with COVID. And I really appreciate the need to want to, push it back a little bit further, but we didn't get the chance to delay the crises that we're facing, which are COVID and homelessness. And so I don't think I have any interest in delaying the program, because this is part of how we take a chip away at a really big problem. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Mosca.
Yeah, I just want to pick up where Councilmember Hensy kind of left off there and say that, I really do believe that communication between our school district is so important. And through the school district liaison committee, I think that we've really done a great job on so many levels at communicating with the district, from districts, from safe routes to schools to improvement of different schools, that construction projects that are going on in the city. I mean, we meet with the districts on every other month, and I think it's also unfair to say that we've not had any discussion with the school districts over the years. I mean, in fact, in the time that I've been on the school district liaison, almost five years now, we've been discussing the unhoused in our city. We discussed the first safe parking program at length. We discussed the data about how many families within San Diego Union High School District are participating in the program. And Maricosta College has discussed it. USD has discussed it. Cardiff Schools has discussed it. We've brought up multiple times our homelessness action plan, which actually has a strategy within it that calls for a safe parking program run by the city. And so we've discussed it at length with folks at the school district. Now, I know that that they have an interim superintendent who's new, and I know that there are a number of new board members, but we have discussed it with them. And I hope that we'll continue to talk about it even at upcoming district liaison committee meetings. And I hope that our staff, in fact, not only hope, but I would impress upon the staff that it's important to me that they're reaching out to the school districts, specifically USD and San Diego Union High School District, and also St. John's and St. Andrews that run schools in that area, that they're reaching out to them and listening to them as well. And it's going to be not one conversation, but an ongoing conversation to make sure that we're all good neighbors and that we're all helping each other out. So, and so that's just my plug of, for the school district liaison committee, what we've been up to, and also that we should continue to have conversation with all the school districts.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, let's go ahead and vote on the motion. Kathy?
All right. Councilmember Hensy?
Yes.
Councilmember Lyons?
No.
Councilmember Mosca?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kranz?
No.
Mayor Blakespear.
Yes.
Motion carries with Councilmember Lyons and Deputy Mayor Kranz voting no.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who participated in this. So this item is over. And our next item on our agenda is we have no informational items. We have no council member initiated items. Anybody want to share their council member reports under AB 1234? Yes, Councilmember Lyons.
Thank you. Switching gears. I did want to report on the League of Cities, and I believe I could do that at this point. The League of Cities annual meeting was this last week, and I attended as the City of Encinitas voting member. And I know many of my colleagues have already done this service for the city, so you'll know what that was like. This is the first time the League had gotten together for 2 years face to face, and there was very strict mask mandates, and it was up in Sacramento, where the city also has very strict mask mandates, and also demonstration, a need for demonstration of that you've been vaccinated or that you've had a negative COVID test within 72 hours. I just will quickly report that there were 3 actions taken by the League. One was a change in the bylaws. To summarize, the change in the bylaws is that a representative from each of the caucuses is now going to be sitting on the board for the League. Also, there were 2 resolutions. One had to do with online sales tax equity, which ended up getting approved, and it is that we'll be calling on the state legislature to work with Cal cities to pass legislation. It has to do with the Bradley Burns Act that sales tax gets attributed to the city where the online purchases have the deliveries made to. So where the buyer is located, they will receive the online sales tax, a portion of the sales tax. And the second resolution was securing the railroad property for maintenance commitments. And to summarize that, it was to ask to do the same thing, calling on the state legislature to work with Cal cities to have the railroad entities assist by cleaning up the areas within the railroad right-of-ways. And I think much of the concern there was focused on debris associated with encampments. Any questions? Okay, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else with their reports? Okay. City manager or city attorney report? Oh, okay.
I do have a question for the city manager and city attorney. North County Transit District had to convene a special meeting for tomorrow to deal with, I think it was AB 361, which required that we pass a resolution making a finding in order to continue virtual meetings. And since we don't have one of those that we haven't made that finding, are we done with our virtual meetings and we're going to now be required to be meeting at the council chambers?
Ms. City Attorney, would you like me to take a stab at that?
Go ahead with that.
All right. So I'm not sure why you're having a special meeting tomorrow. The governor did extend the new law to allow cities to and agencies to continue to do Zoom past October 1st. With certain new conditions related to the webinar and the way that you allow for public comment. Just real briefly, for public comment, if you do an online meeting, you can no longer have people require the registration ahead of the meeting by a certain time. It's more akin to having your meeting live where people can raise their hand through the app. We do not need to bring anything special. We are actually going to be back in the chambers on October 13th.
But we still would be able to do some Zoom meetings. We would just have to adhere to the new process. I don't know if the city attorney has anything to add to that, or if I've adequately explained it.
No, that's correct. And there's the requirement the city does continue to make findings every 30 days or so. It's now actually codified with the city. But I too am kind of don't know why that NCT would have that special meeting requirement. So
I know what the findings are. Now I remember. You have to make findings that there's a reason why you would still have the meeting online, and that there's a reason why you'd want to have the meeting online. So.
Yeah, you can make those findings that you need to keep going.
It could be that we made findings previously that a transit district didn't make those particular findings at the beginning and maybe we have some findings already in place that comply with the law. So anyhow.
Are you staying with Zoom meetings?
What's that?
Or is the district staying with Zoom meetings?
What we're probably going to end up with is hybrid meetings, but some members of the board wanted to continue to Zoom. So in order to do that, we had to make these findings at the meeting tomorrow. And, like I said, it could be that we've already made the findings as a city that NCTD hadn't made. We have General Counsel Lori Winfrey, who does a really good job of keeping us out of trouble. So I tend to trust that whatever it is we're doing tomorrow, we have to do. So, but I was kind of curious, what is the plan for the city in terms of in-person meetings?
So I won't speak for the Honorable Mayor or our city clerk, but the new findings we had been prepared to do some type of a hybrid, but the new procedures that are required under this new law would make it very difficult for the people running the meeting, because essentially a person could continue to raise their hand throughout the entire item and continue to add names, which is even more open, which is fantastic, than a regular public meeting in the council chambers. But we hadn't been really moving in the direction of doing the hybrid meeting anyway when we went back live in the chambers. And we're moving forward with our mandatory vaccinations. By October 13th, the numbers of COVID are going down in San Diego County as well. So I think it's safe for us to go back into the chambers, but I wouldn't recommend doing a hybrid and having to do the new webinar procedures at the same time that we're in the council chambers. It's unfortunate that that's the direction that the legislation took. It's a little bit more restrictive than we had hoped.
So there'll be communication from the city about the next meeting, which I believe has the Goodson ERRD hearing, and the public will know whether they are to come to the chambers or whether they're to Zoom this meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct. The public notices will indicate that it is a live in-person meeting in the chambers.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hinsey.
I was curious to know, City Manager, if we will uphold the mask requirement in City Hall for our next in-person meeting. So if we will all be expected to be masked.
Councilmember Hinsey, it changes every day. So I will be able to answer that question closer to October 13th. Okay. So our Assistant City Manager, Jennifer Campbell, monitors all of the data coming in from the county. And state of California is looking good. We do still have some hot spots in the area. So we're just monitoring it literally every day. It changes. So, but I will keep my fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions, comments? No? Okay, City Clerk report.
All that I'll mention is with the approval earlier on the consent calendar of appointing June Hansberger to the Traffic and Public Safety Commission, that does create a vacancy now on the Environmental Commission. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and I will be putting out an advertisement for applications tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good to know. All right. Well, with that, thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.